Part 35. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 345. Like Gu Huiyan said, when the rain stops, he is still here, the happy and beautiful things are still here. At the end of the performance, the band teacher, orchestra teacher, stage teacher, and all the other staff involved in Gu Huiyan's concert came on stage together. The stage was overcrowded for a while. Glittering flowers rose from the edge of the stage, making the entire stage look very gorgeous for a while. This is the music director, Mr. Zhang Zhou. Gu Huiyan introduced, showing everyone the camera. Drummer teacher Abao. Lao Zhang, the bass player. Brother Niu, the keyboard player. Some people always say that Gu Huiyan rushed to Pei Jingshu's side and said that he was eating everything out, but you see now, he is still slowly introducing every staff member involved in the performance. He is always so sincere. The protagonist of this performance is indeed Gu Huiyan, but everyone knows that without these people as foils for Gu Huiyan, the stage effect will not be as good and the performance will not be as perfect. Oh! Despite their hoarse voices, many people were still waving light sticks and giving Gu Huiyan a final cry. Thank you to everyone, thank you to every audience member who came here to watch our performance. Gu Huiyan walked to the center of the stage. Now, Gu Huiyan, who has experienced so many turmoils, has lost the youthfulness when he first debuted, and can already hold a large-scale concert of this scale. He stood in the center of all the staff on the stage, and faced the sights of all the 20,000 to 30,000 people in the audience. He took all the staff and bowed deeply to the audience. Then he shouted, "See you next time." Oh ho! A burst of violent shouts broke out from the audience again. Now, although he did not sing a diao, Gu Huiyan still wore that grey hat. Many people would always have some filters on him wearing this hat. It seemed that no matter what he had done, as long as he wore this, even haters will forgive him. Gu Huiyan at this time makes people dream back to that summer, the most youthful look. On the big screen, there was still light in his eyes, and he said jokingly, "I'm going to her place." Some people can see in his tone and expression a kind of inner happiness, and even a little show-off. Hey! Ah! There were all kinds of boos at the scene. Ha ha! This time, Gu Huiyan did not argue or refute with anyone. Under his feet was the lifting platform. When he finished his last words, the lifting platform was already slowly descending. He just said as he descended, "Be careful on the way back. It's raining and the roads are slippery. Pay attention to safety. Remember to buy some throat lozenges when you go back. Of course, it's best to get a pair to chew on." Everyone has disappeared from the camera, and his head can no longer be seen on the stage, but his voice is still ringing in the scene. This guy. Some viewers couldn't help but smile helplessly. They couldn't help but feel moved at the same time. Regardless of whether he was pretending or not, at least they felt that Gu Huiyan was sincere to them at this moment. He was always the most sincere towards all kinds of things and people around him. Pa bang! In the audience, Xylan raised her hand and patted it a few times, with a slight smile on her lips. But she didn't know why, but she always felt a little bitterness seeping into the corners of her mouth. This show. That's how it ended. When Gu Huiyan first came down, some people asked, would Gu Huiyan return? Generally speaking, if the atmosphere at a concert is very good, the audience is very enthusiastic, but they haven't heard enough or sang enough, and there is still time left in the venue, then the singer may return to sing one or two more songs for everyone. Of course, there are also many people who are forced to return to the venue if the time is not enough and are fined by the venue. We don't know if Gu Huiyan's time is long enough, but everyone really wants him to return. Unfortunately, Gu Huiyan did not return this time. It's not that I don't want to. But he really couldn't wait and wanted to end it quickly, so he ran to Pei Jingshu's side. Do you ask the audience if they have any regrets? It's a bit of a pity, but not much, because everyone knows that this old six can't wait to find Pei Jingshu. What's more, after this performance, they are already worth the money. It doesn't matter if they return or not. If you have regrets, there will be a next time. Everyone who has watched this concert will probably look forward to Gu Huiyan's next concert. And what happened to those people who you said didn't sing enough? Look at the exit of the venue. On a windy day, I tried to hold your hand. I don't know who started it, but someone in the crowd sang along, and then the audience spontaneously started singing together. This effect began to spread crazily. At first it was only in the stadium venues, and later there were even people singing together in the nearby subway. What an exaggeration! And that very night? News related to Gu Huiyan concert, with lightning speed, directly dominated the related hot searches on various platforms. Hashtag Gu Huiyan's first solo concert, Suzhou starts singing. Hashtag missing is a disease can actually be adapted to be so hot. Hashtag stage conductor Gu Huiyan, he really just needs to start. Hashtag so reverse war is about military training? And men and women sing separately. Hashtag Xylin made a low-key appearance at Gu Huiyan's concert, and her sister has been supporting him. Hashtag Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan's concert were connected live and sang tenderness. Hashtag Light Chaser and want to see you are back, everything is back. Hashtag 5 new songs in one concert, is this Gu Huiyan's strength? Hashtag sequelae of Gu Huiyan's concert. Hashtag all kinds of entries flooded the major social platforms that night, and many people's private circles of friends were posting news about Gu Huiyan's concert. It's a big hit. There is a comment on Gu Huiyan's social media post saying, "This prosperous age is as you wish." In the past, Gu Huiyan was the king of topics. Starting from Crystal Love season, no matter what he did, he would be trending in searches every minute. Therefore, his followers increased very quickly. After recording that month, all the total number of online fans is 7 to 8 million. Later, the first album became a hit, which completely established its reputation and status in the industry. Later, although he lost some fans due to the breakup incident that caught up in public opinion, the number of fans he lost was not particularly large, which is not an exaggeration for an artist with a large base like him. It is worth mentioning that most of the ones that dropped at the beginning were CP fans who said Pei Ban takes care of CP, but tonight, it seems that these CP fans, they're all back again. Tonight, there are many hot searches about Gu Huiyan, of various kinds, in various poses, and in all sorts of strange ways. The entries on each platform are not uniform. There are some that talk about something, and some that do something. But if you want to say that each platform is the most unified, the most popular one is what is the hot search? That's probably the one. Hashtag Pei Ban takes care of CP's high-profile reunion. Hashtag the popularity of this item is such that even if Gu Huiyan's 5 new songs and works of the level of Suddenly Miss You So Much are released, nothing can shake it. Pei Ban Takes Care of CP is a popular CP that has captured the hearts of all CP fans on the internet since its inception. When it comes to the number of fans, among the CPs on the entire network, no matter celebrities or internet celebrities, there is no couple that can compare with Pei Ban Takes Care of CP. The most important thing is that these two are not fake, they are real talk, real talk. So this couple has been very popular since the beginning, and both Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu have received a lot of benefits. It was also because of this that Gu Huiyan was scolded so badly when they broke up. Gu Huiyan's company has made statistics. Among the people who have scolded him in the past 6 months, many are CP fans who say Pei Ban takes care of CP. This is really how deep the love is and how deep the hatred is. Same. When Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshi got back together, these CP fans were the first to stand up and support them. In the past 6 months, after Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshi broke up, some new CPS have appeared on the internet. There are celebrity CPS who are marketed for their roles in dramas, and internet celebrity CPS on TV shows, and occasionally the more popular ones. Being compared to the original Pei Ban takes care of CP. But at this moment, when Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshi announced their reunion in a high-profile manner, and Pei Ban took care of CP made a comeback, you will find that all the CPS who have been compared with them in the past 6 months are all little Karami. Half a year after the breakup, Pei Jingshi's cell phone ringtone was "Still Want to See You" sung by Gu Huiyan. When Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshi were at their respective concerts, they were whispering on their mobile phones that only each other could hear, talking and laughing. When Gu Huiyan led the audience on both sides to collectively sing Light Chaser, and while he was singing Want to See You, he was waiting for Pei Jingshi to sing I Do. It was also when the two of them sang Meet together in tacit understanding even though they were no longer connected. Even more so when Gu Huiyan couldn't wait to leave to see Pei Jingshi. You will find that all idol dramas are weak. After those pictures were circulated, netizens couldn't help but comment. Pei Ban has been taking care of me, for half a year, there is no one who can beat me. After all, this is the love story between two top-notch celebrities with tens of millions of dollars, the king and the queen. The two of them, when they first fell in love, ignited the whole internet trend of having sex with each other. After their separation, the whole city was in a storm, and their reunion was ranked #1 in the hot search. For them, many viewers were dumbfounded. It is worth mentioning that there are some weird remarks in the comment area of related hot searches. Someone said, "Do you think Gu Huiyan has seen Sister Pei now?" Probably not yet. Their performance venues are an hour or two drive away. Do you think they will be together tonight? He 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 he. Jiao, no, brother, what do you think about this when it's so sweet? Ft, ah ha ha ha, 6. I knew the comment section wouldn't disappoint me. When I got back together with my ex-girlfriend, she didn't even get out of bed the next day. Sister Pei is so thin, she probably won't have the energy to get up tomorrow. Hey, we are talking about love here. Is it really appropriate for you to talk about this? That's right, expression, steamed shrimp head, hitui. The shrimp heads are steaming on the surface, but you're sweating on the back, bro. The comment area is like this. I don't know if some old guy who likes to play with colors has taken the wrong style of painting. This kind of thing has never happened before. When Gu Huiyan, Xilin, and Su Yuntang went to Zibo to record a gourmet, Pei Jingshi went to visit the class, and the two young lovers who had reunited after a long separation were known to be together that night, and they talked about it in the same way. At that time, many people said that these people were thinking wildly and had no idea what they were thinking about all day long. They were just doing some stupid things. But what happened the next day? The next day, Pei Jingshi walked to the airport. The strawberry mark on her neck should not be too obvious. Today is indeed the second time that everyone has speculated like this. It is really not appropriate to talk about this when Pei Ban takes care of CP has just reunited with the whole network to bless. But there was nothing wrong with their conversation. For a young couple who have been separated for more than half a year, how do you expect nothing to happen to them on their first night together? What a joke. Many people are already looking forward to the Reuters footage of Pei Jingshi being uploaded online tomorrow. Many people even went crazy at a group of well-known paparazzi, calling them to take pictures of Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshi. Ah sneeze. I don't know if it was telepathy, but Gu Huiyan, who was sitting in the car rushing to the venue where Pei Jingshi was, sneezed and sniffed. Do you have a fever? Zhang Nuan soaked him with cold medicine, wrapped him in some clothes, and handed him some tissues. I do not know. Gu Huiyan's voice was very nasal, and he said he didn't know, but actually he knew in his heart that he must have a cold. He was singing and dancing on the stage, and he was sweating a little. Then it started to rain. He couldn't bear to hold an umbrella for himself and the audience would get wet in the rain, so he gave the umbrella to the audience to carry. Can those who are hot and cold not catch a cold? The most terrible thing is that he sang in the cold wind for nearly an hour after the rain stopped. It's not obvious when you're on stage. After all, people will enter a state of excitement during a performance. Even when Gu Huiyan got off the stage and got into the car, he was fine. But after walking for a while, that uncomfortable feeling slowly came to my mind. Eat this. The assistant handed him cold medicine, which he swallowed in one gulp, but he still felt a little uncomfortable. My throat and nose felt like they were burning, my body felt cold and I felt a little sleepy. I touched my head, it felt hot. What a humming unlucky person. Gu Huiyan twitched the corner of his mouth, thinking that next time he would have a concert, it would be a smaller venue with a roof. It didn't matter if it was smaller. We couldn't let it rain like this again. You are also seeking death. Zhang Nuan couldn't help complaining, brother, it's not summer now. It doesn't matter if you get wet in the rain during the summer. It's fine even if you catch a cold for a day or two when the temperature is high. But now it's the 12th lunar month of winter. If you're caught in the rain today, aren't you looking for death? And this hat? Another assistant at the back reluctantly shook Gu Huiyan's hat. The old man took off his hat when he came out of the venue. He said he didn't think the hat looked good and wanted to freshen up his hair before meeting Pei Jingshu. But the problem is, he was caught in the rain before, and his hair was so wet that he put on a hat before he could blow it out. He wore a hat to keep his head warm. It's a cold day and you take it off like this, and you feel uncomfortable when you alternate between hot and cold. Not uncomfortable. How is it possible not to catch a cold? Puff. Another staff member next to him laughed and said, "Are you leaving it here to stack buffs? Along with things related to colds, you are not left behind. Seeking death, you Gu Laoliu are a professional." Gu Huiyan. For a moment, he was speechless. Are you done yet? Finally, he became angry and shocked them with his boss majesty. How about going to the hospital? As a personal assistant, Zhang Nuan is still worried about Gu Huiyan's health. Although there are no work arrangements for the future, a breakdown of the body will always be detrimental to the future. Judging from the current completeness of Gu Huiyan's concert, follow-up work is definitely indispensable. Not only that, as a singer, a severe cold will also have an impact on your voice. So if you are sick, it is best to go to the hospital immediately. It's almost here, are you asking me to go to the hospital now? Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes, not only because he was about to go to Pei Jingshu's place, but he also felt that it was just a little cold. What could happen to him? How could a cold break him down at such a young age? These artist assistants just make too much fuss. It was like this before. When he was filming, he would make a fuss and call the medical staff of the crew to come over. Is that the case? Later, Gu Huiyan finally understood why Sister Xylin was so sprained that she didn't want to tell others. Wouldn't it be easy to make a fuss out of a molehill if she told others? No, even if you go now, you won't be able to talk to Sister Pei about that. What made Gu Huiyan a little confused was that Zhang Nuan actually said this. Gu Huiyan. At that time, Gu Huiyan was full of questions. When did you speak so wildly and unrestrainedly? Also, is this what an assistant should say? It does not make sense. You. Her tiger and wolf words were silenced by Gu Huiyan. She opened her mouth for a long time but could not say a complete sentence. Gu Huiyan found that he actually made her say that she was a little embarrassed and panicked. You, don't get me wrong, I didn't mean that, I meant. Zhang Nuan also knew that she had said the wrong thing, so she quickly explained that she didn't mean that, she just said that you two must not be in close contact. What should you do if you have a bad cold now and have infected it to Sister Pei? Then kiss, hug, hold up, whether it's a hug or a kiss, which one doesn't require close contact? Aren't you going to harm people? Why don't you become her assistant, Zhang Nuan? In the end, Gu Huiyan couldn't bear to listen anymore. The good guys made a fuss together and called him to the hospital for Pei Jingshu's sake. This assistant is fake. During the concert, the audience said that he was eating everything. Now Gu Huiyan felt that his assistant was the real eating everything. Okay. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 346. Gu Huiyan, who had just come out of the gym 30 minutes ago and was on the road. Isn't it just a little cold? This thing can kill people? What a joke. 30 minutes later, Gu Huiyan was huddled in the car's down jacket and holding a thermos cup. MD can't do it, I really can't resist. That fever came at once, faster than love or a tornado. Before Gu Huiyan could react, he was almost in a state of confusion. Go to the hospital, brother. You don't care whether the assistant is doing it for Gu Huiyan or Pei Jingshu. In short, he must take Gu Huiyan to the hospital. I just took the temperature and found that the fever of MD is almost 40 degrees. Generally, the normal human body temperature is 36-7 degrees. If it goes up to 37 degrees, it means you have a fever. Around 39 degrees, it's basically a high fever. If it goes up to 40 degrees, it's a super high fever. No, it will be here soon. Gu Huiyan wanted to say that you should at least let me see her first. After riding for almost 2 hours, she arrived just before her eyes. The paparazzi were following behind her. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to turn around and go to the hospital at this time? He even had the intention to make a joke, and shouted with a rather middle-aged expression and tone. I'm going to see her tonight no matter what. Why are you filming an idol drama here? Zhang Nuan didn't hold back and directly asked the driver to turn around. If he listened to Gu Huiyan at this time, no one would be held responsible if something went wrong. Well. Gu Huiyan sighed and didn't sing anymore. It was just a pity. There were so many people on the MD internet talking about how they would spend the night. Who would have thought that Gu Huiyan would turn around and run to the hospital? He just wants to save face and suffer the consequences. Of course, it wasn't just about face at this moment, the main reason was that he knew very well that Pei Jingshu should wait at the hotel. If he couldn't arrive, wouldn't her waiting be in vain? Also, would she be worried if he had a fever and went to the hospital? Anyway. At this moment, Gu Huiyan had many thoughts in his mind, which were very messy. But I don't know why, but he relaxed a little. Just now, it was indeed uncomfortable, but maybe it was because he was about to see Pei Jingshu, so Gu Huiyan kept tensing up, thinking that at least he would not let her see anything strange when he got off the car later, and he would not let her worry. Gotta look better too. But now, it is certain that things will not go away. If you have to go to the hospital immediately, you will definitely not be able to see Pei Jingshu. Then Gu Huiyan will not be so nervous. It is easy to feel sleepy when you have a fever, and the medicine you just took also contains drugs that make you sleepy. Plus, your mind is so relaxed, so Gu Huiyan fell asleep and fell asleep. I huddled in the car, huddled in my down jacket, and lost consciousness in a daze. I didn't even know how I got in when I got to the hospital. I was confused, but I heard the system seem to prompt something. Ding, to congratulate the host on the successful reconciliation, I will reward you with the song Forgiveness. At that time, he was really dizzy from the fever. Gu Huiyan thought it was his hallucination, and in his daze he cursed the system. It's not much use, all I have to do is sing all day long. I don't know if he was scolding the system to get retribution, but he completely lost consciousness after cursing this sentence. The hotel where Pei Jingshu stayed. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking care of me. You must drink this drink. At midnight, the traffic outside was much less, but the hotel here was still quite lively, with bright lights and people to eat and drink. The concert ended successfully. Pei Ya took the lead and held a large-scale celebration banquet in the hotel. The director team, broadcast team, lighting team, stage design team, band teacher and other people basically contributed to the concert. All the people were present and it was very lively. Pei Jingshu, who had changed into casual clothes, was sitting in the middle of the dinner wearing a pink hat. Her short hair was tied up in a small geo on the back of her head. From the back, she might look a bit cute and inconsistent with her temperament, but from the front, because her hair was pulled up, her perfect face was highlighted. Although her hair is still short, it can now be tied up to some extent, which makes Pei Jingshu look very clean. The dim light shines on her face, which seems to cast a shadow on her face. It is worth mentioning that she did not drink, she just drank silently with a glass of water. Under normal circumstances, Pei Jingshu would not attend a dinner like this, but she was the protagonist of tonight's celebration banquet. Everyone was celebrating her, so it was never a good idea not to attend. Even so, she didn't drink. She only ate a few bites of the food, and occasionally looked at her cell phone. She often couldn't hear clearly what people around her were talking to, and looked distracted. "Sister Pei, why are you always distracted?" An assistant next to him asked in a teasing tone. "No need to ask, I must be waiting for someone to call me," another assistant said with a smile. Pei Jingshu, who heard the conversation between the two, immediately blushed and raised her head. The pair of charming eyes under the brim of her pink hat glared at them for a few times, and then the two assistants closed their mouths. By the way, she was also wondering, didn't she say he would come to her after the concert? How come she hadn't even received a message from Gu Huiyan until now? According to her understanding of Gu Huiyan, this guy should have rushed over minutes after the concert ended. Maybe there's a celebration party too. Just when Pei Jingshu was wondering, Pei Ya, who came over with a glass of red wine, patted her on the shoulder and said, "We are having a social event here, and he must be there too. He can't leave no matter what." This is true. Their concert ended successfully. It is just a regular concert and there must be a banquet. As for Gu Huiyan's concert, it was his first solo concert, and it was also his turnaround. The scale was far greater than theirs. No matter in terms of meaning or form, his celebration banquet could not be avoided. Pei Jingshu nodded slightly. Only after nodding did she realize that something was wrong with herself. She blushed and immediately shook her head and said, Who wants him to come?" "Pook." Pei Ya was amused. Let's just say, Pei Jingshu almost announced her forgiveness of Gu Huiyan in a high-profile concert. Why is she still looking angry with him now? It's so hard to save face and suffer the consequences. Sometimes, Pei Ya couldn't help but think that that boy and her sister were really the same kind of people. They were both very face-conscious. If she hadn't had boss Gu Huiyan to help, there was no telling when the two would get back together. It is not impossible that they will never get back together for that ridiculous face. Elder sister. Pei Jingshu was not very happy to be teased by her sister. Although she blushed, she counterattacked mercilessly. "If I remember correctly, didn't you dislike him before? What you did tonight without telling me is not like your style." Cough cough cough. Pei Ya, who was still drinking just now, choked on one gulp and coughed for a long time. Giggle. Pei Jingshu was amused and giggled. Although she was a little embarrassed in front of her sister, Pei Ya was still very happy to see Pei Jingshu smiling. It's been more than half a year, and she hasn't seen Pei Jingshu smile happily. Sure enough, only that country boy has the ability to make his sister cry every minute and laugh from the bottom of his heart. She thought, if her sister could always be so happy, even if she was a country boy, it wouldn't matter. Just then. Ding dong dong. Pei Ya's cell phone suddenly rang. When I picked it up, I saw that it was Gu Huiyan's assistant. Because they had arranged to connect the two concerts before, they both had contact information. In the past, she must have avoided Pei Jingshu to answer the call, but now she definitely doesn't have to hide. Even if Pei Jingshu saw the caller's note and gave her a big eye roll, she just smiled and answered directly. Do you remember to call me? She thought it was because Gu Huiyan was busy socializing at a concert and couldn't make it, so she asked her assistant to call Pei Jingshu and tell her. She understands, but the problem is that your call was too late. How long has it been since this ended? Also, what do you mean by asking the assistant to do it? You won't tell Pei Jingshu yourself? People say that warm men are second to dogs, but Pei Ya thinks straight men should be second to warm men. Hey, Sinai. Of course, she thought it was also possible that Gu Huiyan drank too much. Gu Huiyan was known to have a good drinker. It was estimated that there would be many people who were drunk at the celebration banquet. This was understandable. But what she never expected was that assistant Gu Huiyan told her that they exist. Medical hospital. No, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why did you go to the hospital again? Because she was so anxious, Pei Ya even forgot that Pei Jingshu was beside her, so she asked incredulously. Don't tell me that Gu Huiyan had another car accident on the way here. A bloody drama in which the hero and heroine are killed in a car accident just after they get back together. Do you still think Gu Huiyan's story is not bloody enough? Do you really want him to die? Do you really not want to give me any candy? What happened? When Pei Jingshu, who was still smiling just now, heard her sister talk about hospital, the smile on her face suddenly stopped, and then disappeared instantly. Under the brim of the pink hat, those delicate and pretty faces were instantly filled with nervous emotions. This is the second time she has learned that Gu Huiyan is in the hospital. She still remembers the scene from the last time. Her hand involuntarily grasped the edge of her sister's clothes while making a phone call. Pei Ya could feel her sister trembling slightly, and even her voice was a little trembling. I know you're anxious, but don't be anxious yet. Pei Ya comforted her sister first, and then quickly asked Assistant Gu Huiyan what was going on. She didn't relax until she heard Assistant Gu Huiyan said that the old lady went to the hospital with a high fever because she got caught in the rain during the performance on stage today and sang in the cold wind for more than an hour. Take a breath. Can you tell me this kind of important information earlier next time? Pei Ya was almost ready to curse. She wanted to say that you came up here and told me that Gu Huiyan didn't tell me why he went to the hospital even though he was in the hospital. Is there any difference between you and being a hooligan? Hey. She thought Gu Huiyan was in a car accident and died. What's funny is that Zhang Nuan didn't feel ashamed after hearing this. Instead, she replied. Do you still want to have a next time? Pei Yagan was silent for a while. Yes, she heard that Gu Huiyan was in the hospital twice, and everyone including Pei Jingshu trembled in their hearts. Who the hell wants a next time? Okay, send me the address and hurry up. She was too lazy to talk nonsense to Gu Huiyan, the rebellious assistant, so she had better rush over. You don't need to come over. What time is it now? Besides, he's not a big problem. He just got the 4 bottle and his fever has gone down and he's asleep. Zhang Nuan must be thinking about Sister Pei. It will be hard for Pei Jingshu to come here after finishing the concert this late at night. Do you think we can't go there? Pei Ya rolled her eyes and wanted to say that if you tell us again tomorrow morning, we will definitely not be able to go through now. Now that you have said it, Do you think we can't go through? She can, and so can others, but look at Pei Jingshu, who is so stupid that she almost bursts into tears. How can she not go through? What's wrong? Is he in the hospital? Huh. Pei Ya asked for her address and hung up the phone. Pei Jingshu grabbed her arm and asked nervously. That look reminded Pei Ya of the night when Gu Huiyan had a car accident. That night, Pei Jingshu had the same reaction. Don't worry, it's just that I got a fever due to the rain and cold wind tonight. It's not a big problem. Pei Ya comforted her sister and asked her assistant to prepare the car. At the same time, I told Pei Jingshu that Gu Huiyan was not coming tonight. After his concert, let alone the celebration party, he didn't even have time to say hello to the people present. Many staff members didn't even see him, so he just came here by car. He was almost there just now, but his fever was too exaggerated. It had already reached 40 degrees. If he continued to hold on, he thought something might really happen. He insists on seeing you first before going to the hospital. It's as if he's parting ways. On the way to the car with Pei Jingshu, Pei Ya was so happy. Thinking of that scene, she really had to admire the straight man. Are you going to act in an idol drama here, friend? Giggle. The two assistants couldn't help but laugh. Only Pei Jingshu couldn't laugh no matter what. Her beautiful face was full of worry. There were even tears in the corners of his eyes. Hearing Pei Ya and the others tease her, she glared at them angrily. Pei Ya and the two assistants stopped laughing angrily. Okay, it's just a cold and a fever. It's no big deal. His assistant said on the phone that the fever is gone and he's asleep. Pei Ya kept comforting her sister. In fact, she wanted to say before that he might not know that he was asleep anyway. If you go now, why don't you have a good night's rest and go see him tomorrow morning? But in the end she didn't say this, because she felt that if she said this now, Pei Jingshu would directly tell them all to go back, and she would go to Gu Huiyan's place alone. She can definitely do it. By late night, the temperature had dropped, and there were very few cars on the road, let alone pedestrians. In the depth of winter, the trees on both sides of the street don't have many leaves. They are bare and not beautiful. They are just worth seeing because they keep receding in the car windows. The dim street lights reflected through the car window onto Pei Jingshu's face, and her beautiful face was filled with worry. At this moment, she couldn't help but think of the last time Gu Huiyan was in a car accident, which was the day they broke up. To be honest, she was really feeling a bit psychologically depressed. Although she knew it was unlikely, she was still a little afraid of seeing such a scene again after she went there. But the problem is, she has to go. She really lost to Gu Huiyan. Sometimes she couldn't help but think that if Gu Huiyan had shamelessly used the bitter flesh trick in the past 6 months, she would have been chased back by him long ago. The nickname the soft-hearted god is really not for nothing. Because it was when he was approaching Pei Jingshu's hotel that Gu Huiyan finally couldn't hold on and found the nearest hospital, so the hospital where Gu Huiyan was staying was not too far from Pei Jingshu's hotel. There were no cars on the road at night, let alone traffic jams. It only took Pei Jingshu and the others less than 20 minutes to drive to the hospital where Gu Huiyan was staying. Although she had some psychological shadow, Pei Jingshu still ran at the front. Because she was so anxious, she didn't even wear a mask and rushed directly to the nurse's station to ask. At that time, the nurse was confused and looked at Pei Jingshu. With that delicate and pretty face that was so recognizable, I didn't know for a moment whether I should be excited to see the celebrity or wonder why the big star appeared in their hospital. Mask. Mask. Pei Ya chased after her wildly, and after catching up, she quickly put on a mask. Was she afraid that no one would know that Gu Huiyan had entered the hospital again? This way. Fortunately, Gu Huiyan's assistant happened to come out to pick them up and took them all the way in. Gu Huiyan opened a ward. He had a cold and needed fluids so that he wouldn't be hospitalized. However, Gu Huiyan was so feverish that he even found a stretcher to carry him out of the car. The assistants made a fuss about it, fearing that something would go wrong with him. If it hadn't been for him, after the fever subsided, I woke up and drank some water, thinking about arranging a follow-up checkup for him. Call. Pei Jingshu trotted all the way until she entered the ward and saw Gu Huiyan lying there with a sling bottle, sleeping and breathing evenly. Pei Jingshu breathed a sigh of relief. He's fine. He just felt hot and cold a few times tonight. It was his own fault. Zhang Nuan called the staff to go out first to make room for Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, while explaining that Gu Huiyan had a fever. She doesn't feel sorry for Gu Huiyan at all. It's not that she eats everything, but if you understand what this eldest brother does, you have to say that he deserves to have a fever. It was raining on the stage. I didn't have an umbrella, so the audience got wet all over me. I didn't blow my hair in order to catch up with the performance, so I put on a hat. After the show, I took off my hat when I went out for the sake of image, letting the hat wrap my warm and wet head. Exposed to the cold air. That's it? Do you think he deserves it? Who is to say but that he sought his own death? Puff. Pei Ya and the others couldn't help laughing after hearing this. They didn't expect Gu Huiyan to be so lively. Only Pei Jingshu could not laugh. SHH. Instead, she frowned, raised her index finger to her red lips, and made a silence gesture to them. You. Pei Ya couldn't stand it anymore, and suddenly she regretted trying to get them back together. What she wants to say now is, the whole world can't cure Pei Jingshu's soft heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 347. Uncomfortable. It's so humming uncomfortable. Gu Huiyan didn't know how he got here this night. Anyway, he was really confused, especially when he had a high fever. He felt that Tai Nai was waving to him. Hey, hey. When he opened his eyes and regained consciousness, all Gu Huiyan saw was a snow-white ceiling. At that time, Gu Huiyan had a question mark. He didn't know if it was because he was too weak after having a fever. His brain was a little short-circuited. Looking at this familiar scene, he thought he had traveled through time. He rarely goes to the hospital. Even if he gets sick, he doesn't like to go to the hospital as long as the problem is not serious. He will be fine if he exercises. The last time I went to the hospital was when I had a car accident in Guangzhou. Now Gu Huiyan thinks that he has traveled back in time. The layout of the hospital wards on the two sides of MD is really too similar, and the feeling of weakness and powerlessness is too similar. For a moment, Gu Huiyan wondered if everything that happened later, including Pei Jingshu breaking up with him sending Shang Zuoyan away, and then pursuing Pei Jingshu back, were all hallucinations when he was in a coma? Or foreseeing what will happen in the future? If that were the case, Gu Huiyan would be very happy, because he would leave here as fast as possible in the next few dozen minutes, and no matter what, Shang Zuoyan and Pei Jingshu would not be allowed to meet each other. Such a pity. It's a pity that there is no if. Although he was weak, after moving his body, Gu Huiyan didn't feel any pain on his body, especially his arm, which was completely fine. I stood up a little and took a look at this ward, and I could see the difference from the previous one. The memory also returned to Gu Huiyan's mind at this time. I'm so humming confused. Gu Huiyan rubbed his forehead, thinking that he still dreamed that he had traveled back in time. How much he wished those things had never happened. Gu Huiyan, the old man, was also slow. It was only then that he noticed that there was someone lying next to his bed. This is the right recipe. What's funny is that the first thing this old six thought about was not who was lying next to the bed, but when he sat up from the hospital bed and saw someone lying next to him, not sitting far away, which is the normal formula. This matter. If Siren were here, she would definitely understand his plot. This is. At this time, Pei Jingshu was lying on the bedside, with her hands folded under her head lowered and covered with a pink peaked cap. She couldn't see her face. Gu Huiyan couldn't recognize it at first. Who? This kid used to be face blind. When Pei Jingshu was participating in the show, she dressed up in disguise and made a surprise appearance. Others could recognize him, but he couldn't recognize him while he was just eating. It's still like this now. Maybe it was because of the psychological shadow caused by Ganqian. Gu Huiyan wanted to think that if there was a woman lying next to his bed and Pei Jingshu saw it, there would be another problem. Taking Pei Jingshu back once would cost her life, but Gu Huiyan couldn't bear it a second time. Hey, hello. Gu Huiyan didn't know who this person was. He didn't look like an assistant. He thought it was a nurse or a fan who had barged in. Thinking of this, Gu Huiyan secretly scolded Zhang Nuan and the others for being irresponsible. How could MD let outsiders in? So he touched the other person lightly a few times. Pei Jingshu squirmed a few times, maybe because she was sleepy. She lowered her head and rubbed her eyes, not knowing what happened. Seeing that the other party was awake, Gu Huiyan said casually. Can you please get up first and call my assistant for me? We are alone in this ward and can easily be misunderstood. Pei Jingshu, who was rubbing her eyes, was slightly startled when she heard this, then raised her head and looked at Gu Huiyan. At that moment, the embarrassment in the air was deafening. Gu Huiyan's words stopped as soon as he reached his lips. The expression on his face instantly froze, his pupils shrank, and his 224K titanium alloy pure eyes widened. Pei Jingshu's expression is more interesting, as if she is saying, "Are you playing hard to get with me?" She definitely didn't know that Gu Huiyan didn't recognize her, and thought that Gu Huiyan was deliberately keeping a distance from her by speaking such strange words. God knows how heartbroken Pei Jingshu, who had been with this guy all night, felt when she heard this. No, I didn't recognize you, I didn't know it was you. Gu Huiyan waved his hands hurriedly and explained inarticulately. He was very panicked. After hearing this, Pei Jingshu was even more incredible, her expression seemed to say. Are you really blind? Can't you recognize me? What's funny is that Pei Jingshu is known as the most recognizable female star in the entire domestic entertainment industry. No matter how tightly she covers her face, she can easily be recognized by fans and passers-by when she goes outside. Just now, yes, she might be lying down, but judging from her short hair and outline, even Gu Huiyan's assistant would recognize her. Regarding her relationship with Gu Huiyan, even though they haven't seen each other for more than half a year, it's not like you recognized the wrong person just lying next to you, right? Pei Jingshu was speechless for a moment, and the CPU almost made him angry. There was a bit of anger on that beautiful face, and she said, I think you are confused from the fever. No, mainly. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and sat up. He was actually much more awake now. Although he was still very weak and his nasal voice was very heavy, which made him feel uncomfortable, he still showed a silly smile and pointed at Pei Jingshu's hair, told her. The main thing is that I always had long hair in my impression. When I saw the person lying next to my bed with short hair, I subconsciously didn't think about you. Conscience of heaven and earth. This is really the reason why Gu Huiyan didn't recognize Pei Jingshu just now. Probably, the long straight black hair is so distinctive that it has been engraved deep in Gu Huiyan's mind, so when he just woke up and was still in a daze, subconsciously, the Pei Jingshu in his mind was still the same long hair. The way my hair looks. When he suddenly saw a short-haired man lying next to the bed, he subconsciously excluded Pei Jingshu. Hearing this, Pei Jingshu was slightly stunned. Then, there was an inexplicable feeling of being poked. Her heart felt slightly sour, and the tip of her nose was slightly sour. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt a little aggrieved. No, it's not a little bit, it's very aggrieved. When Gu Huiyan mentioned her hair, all the grievances she had felt over the past 6 months seemed to burst out from her heart and hit her mind. Pei Jingshu couldn't control her emotions no matter what. Tears quickly accumulated in those watery eyes. But you say outbreak? No. Not quite yet. Pei Jingshu just glared at Gu Huiyan with wet eyes and said, "How dare you mention it?" After saying that, she stood up and walked out, as if she was angry and wanted to leave. But she's not really angry, it's just that she doesn't want Gu Huiyan to see her cry because of her face. She's always very strong. Anyway, Gu Huiyan was awake too, and it seemed like nothing was wrong, so there was no need for her. Gu Huiyan knew that he must have said the wrong thing. Now this boy would definitely not be so straight anymore. He lifted up the quilt on the bed and chased Pei Jingshu out without even putting on his shoes. Is he awake? Why are you crying? No, don't leave. Hello. Outside, Pei Jingshu's staff and Gu Huiyan's staff were basically there. When they saw Pei Jingshu coming out crying, they were all stunned. They thought the scene was a bit. Looks familiar. The day they broke up in Guangzhou seemed to be the same scene. But, it shouldn't be. That time it was a special Shuro field, a king versus a king. This time it was just Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan. They just got back together last night. Why did they run out crying again? What happened again? What the hell? What are you doing? Hello. Before they could react, Gu Huiyan, who was not wearing shoes, ran out after them. What did you kid do again? Pei Ya didn't know if it was someone high up, so she went over and grabbed Gu Huiyan's arm and asked. I didn't do anything. Gu Huiyan looked innocent and wronged, but he really didn't do anything to feel sorry for Pei Jingshu, he just said the wrong thing. Seeing Pei Jingshu walking away immediately, Gu Huiyan had no time to follow Pei Yamaji, so he threw her hand away and went after Pei Jingshu. While chasing, Gu Huiyan helplessly thought, why the hell are the two scenes so exactly the same? Last time, he pursued Pei Jingshu in the same way. This time was the same as last time but different. Last time I was very weak and couldn't walk a few steps without someone's support. This time I wasn't so weak, but I had a fever all night and just got up and said that I could run wildly. It was a fart. For example, it is still very difficult for him to chase Pei Jingshu now. Gu Huiyan was helpless and wanted to say why Pei Jingshu walked so fast. The corridor of the hospital is relatively dark, and there is light in the far corner. As Pei Jingshu walks out, the light will perfectly highlight her figure walking in the center of the corridor. Wait for me. Gu Huiyan should give chase. He really can't catch up. If she doesn't agree when he calls her, there is nothing he can do. Gu Huiyan can only play some tricks. Hey, hiss. But I saw this old man suddenly pretending to fall while walking, and sat directly on the ground. Then he hugged his knees and acted like they're, just like the real thing. What was gratifying was that Gu Huiyan had been calling Pei Jingshu, who had been stunned for a long time, but when she heard the sound of him falling, her steps suddenly stopped. Under the shadow of the sun, if you look closely, you can see her delicate body trembling slightly. Finally, she clenched her pink fist and stamped her feet angrily. She finally came back wiping tears. She is always so soft-hearted. Even last time, when faced with such a scene, she wanted to look back, but that time she gave herself a slap in the face. This time, nothing can compare with last time. She couldn't bear to see Gu Huiyan in pain. Fall, where did you fall? Although she was embarrassed, she still came to support Gu Huiyan with concern. She didn't dare to look at Gu Huiyan, as if she was afraid that Gu Huiyan would see her crying and feel so embarrassed and lose face. Seeing the wet look in her eyes, Gu Huiyan felt heartbroken. He did not rush to answer Pei Jingshu's words. Instead, he raised his hand and put it on the edge of Pei Jingshu's eyes to wipe her tears. Then, his hands climbed up to Pei Jingshu's soft waist and hugged her tightly. Pei Jingshu was stunned for a moment at first, but soon she realized that Gu Huiyan was lying to her, so she couldn't help biting her silver teeth, pinching a pink fist and hitting Gu Huiyan on the shoulder several times. "Let me go, you lied to me, let go." At this moment, Pei Jingshu didn't have any of the upbringing of a lady in the past, she was just a girl playing a petty temperament. "If you don't let me go, I won't let you go even if you beat me to death," Gu Huiyan said. "Smelly scoundrel." Pei Jingshu hit her a few times, but she didn't know if she was tired, so she stopped fighting or struggled. Instead, he quietly clung to Gu Huiyan, holding his head with both hands. She wasn't angry in the first place, she just couldn't bear to lose face when the hair issue was brought up. To be honest, their current position is not very comfortable. Gu Huiyan was sitting on the ground, and Pei Jingshu was half squatting just now. Gu Huiyan just hugged her by the waist, so naturally Pei Jingshu could only hug his head. This posture was so just like breastfeeding. But there was nothing I could do. If Gu Huiyan didn't hug him just now, maybe Pei Jingshu would pick him up and leave. This caused Pei Ya, Zhang Nuan and other staff members to catch up. They were a little confused when they saw the scene and didn't know how to interrupt. "What the hell are you two doing?" The corner of Pei Ya's mouth twitched, she held her forehead silently, and pulled the people around her to turn their backs, wondering if you two could hide from someone else. "Here, after all, it's still a hospital. I just passed by two uncles and aunties, and I was so embarrassed when I saw them hugging each other like this." Cough. Gu Huiyan's face turned red, but he showed no intention of letting go of his hands. "Hurry up and let go." Pei Jingshu's face was definitely not as thick-skinned as Gu Huiyan's. She was stared at and said that, and her face was definitely upset and turned red with embarrassment. He punched Gu Huiyan on the shoulder several times with his pink fist, but unfortunately Gu Huiyan still showed no sign of letting go. This stinky bastard didn't know what was going on. He couldn't catch up when he was chasing someone. He was too strong when he hugged someone. Pei Jingshu couldn't break free even after struggling for several times. "I'll let you go if you don't leave." Gu Huiyan sniffed. His nasal voice was quite strong, and he didn't seem to be okay. Just hearing his nasal voice was so strong that Pei Jingshu couldn't bear it, but he was so rogue, but it made Pei Jingshu lose face. "How could I like someone like you?" By some mistake, Pei Jingshu said this. As soon as the words came out of her mouth, she realized something was wrong and immediately blushed and covered her mouth. Immediately afterwards, she noticed that everyone, including Gu Huiyan, Pei Ya, and Zhang Nuan, were looking at her with strange eyes. "Don't, why are you looking at me like that?" Pei Jingshu now wants to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. She doesn't know what's wrong with her. Is her brain short-circuited? How could she say such a thing? She wouldn't let her look, but these people wouldn't just stop looking. Because she was being stared at all the time, Pei Jingshu felt so ashamed and couldn't care less about her shame. She pushed Gu Huiyan and said anxiously, "I won't leave, just let go." Hey, okay." Gu Huiyan laughed so hard that he looked like a crazy idiot. He said his promise and immediately held Pei Jingshu's hand after letting go of her waist, as if he was afraid that Pei Jingshu would break her promise and leave. Pei Jingshu pushed him several times, so many people were watching. Gu Huiyan just wanted to say, "So what, if I hold my girlfriend's hand, what's the problem? Shameless and skinless." Pei Jingshu coaxed her pretty face and whispered, but in the end she didn't leave again. "Ahem, what is that?" When she returned to the ward, Pei Ya specifically told Pei Jingshu, "You two should try to keep some distance between you two." It's not that we won't let you get close. He has a bad cold now, which is contagious. It's very difficult for artists to catch a cold, especially for singers. If they have a cold and their voice is not online during a performance, there will be problems. Now we have entered the 12th lunar month of winter and it is the end of the year. I may have performed less after the concert, but I will inevitably have various stages in the future. Gu Huiyan has a bad cold, and Pei Jingshu cannot take this risk with him. Pei Ya wants to scold Gu Huiyan when she mentions this. Why did this old man want to die? He has to catch a cold at this time. Do you think it is possible for them not to get closer to each other during this time when they just got back together? If I hadn't told the truth just now that it was so touching, Pei Ya wouldn't have wanted Gu Huiyan to hug Pei Jingshu. Elder sister. After hearing her sister's words, Pei Jingshu's pretty face flushed with embarrassment and she glared at her sister. I know, don't worry, thank you sister. Gu Huiyan called her sister one after another. It's a strange kiss to call. Pei Ya gritted her teeth, stopped talking nonsense to them, and took a group of staff members out to buy breakfast for them. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu were the only two people left in the room. Today, Pei Jingshu is wearing a pair of light blue denim trousers. The sweater is creamy white in color, which matches her skin very well. There is a knitted jacket on the outside. To be honest, it is a bit thin, but it looks really good. A pink hat is placed on her head, and her short hair is scattered casually, giving her a bit of a girly look. You said you won't leave, but you still won't let go. After they left, Gu Huiyan still held Pei Jingshu's hand, even though she was sweating, she still didn't let go. Pei Jingshu didn't dislike it, she mainly wanted to pour Gu Huiyan a glass of water. He kept holding his hand and wouldn't let go, so he couldn't pour it. Gu Huiyan grinned and said nothing, just stared at Pei Jingshu, then sat up and got closer to her. He raised his hand and touched her hair. Short hair. Neat, elegant, and sassy. But it's also so distressing. Pei Jingshu could feel the distress in his eyes, and Pei Jingshu could feel it when he touched her hair. At that moment, her grievances seemed to be flooding into her heart again. But this time, Gu Huiyan didn't give her a chance to cry, because Gu Huiyan's hand followed her hair, touched behind her ear, and then touched the back of her head. Then, just when her grievances came to her mind, Gu Huiyan pressed the back of her head with one hand, leaned forward, and kissed Pei Jingshu's lips gently. That movement was so smooth. If Pei Ya is here, she should probably scold her. She just said she wouldn't let you get close, and then you kissed her, right? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 348. After breakfast, Gu Huiyan was hooked up to an intravenous drip in the hospital. Pei Jingshu was with her the whole time. Gu Huiyan originally asked her to go back and have a rest. After all, she stayed in the hospital all night last night and was always worried. She was still there in the morning, crying and beating. But Pei Jingshu only gave him a big eye roll and said that she couldn't sleep at this time anyway and had nothing to do when she went back. She would have some rest soon after finishing the concert, so it was good to stay here. Gu Huiyan was happy and said, if you want to stay with me in the hospital, just say it directly, there is no need to beat around the bush. I'm leaving. Pei Jingshu's pretty face turned red, she rolled her eyes at Gu Huiyan, and started to leave angrily. Hey, no, no, no. Gu Huiyan hurriedly tried to persuade him to stay, using the same hand that was used to administer intravenous drips and needles. Can you be more careful? Pei Jingshu had a look of anger on her face. The hand she was using to administer the four was pricking a blood vessel. What should I do if it's crooked? She had to prick it again. Doesn't it hurt? Be careful, I must be careful. Old Lu smiled and touched Pei Jingshu's hand with a mean look. If he didn't have a cute face, one would really wonder if he was a greasy uncle. Pei Jingshu was helpless towards him, but she quite enjoyed the feeling of being relied on by Gu Huiyan and not letting her go. "Okay, I won't leave, you can take a nap," she pursed her lips and said softly. Although Gu Huiyan was always joking with her, Pei Jingshu could tell that he was not in good spirits. He actually had a fever just now and his cough was quite serious. His assistant said it seemed to be worse than last night. "There is no way, the cold is just such a process. It usually gets worse after sleeping and then gradually gets better." Gu Huiyan nodded, feeling that he had overdone it last night. He had a fever last night and was feeling really uncomfortable right now. After lying down, Gu Huiyan fell asleep in a daze. However, his hand was still tightly clasping Pei Jingshu's hand. He fell asleep and snored, but he didn't let go. "My hands are a little numb." Indeed, if Gu Huiyan continued to hold him in that motion, it would be pure deception. But Pei Jingshu didn't pay attention, and even moved her hands very carefully, as if she was afraid of waking Gu Huiyan. The ward was very quiet. It rained last night, so the sunshine this morning was particularly dazzling. The warm winter sun refracted through the uncurtained windows, bringing a lot of warmth to people. Even though the warmth was behind him, and the curtains were drawn on Gu Huiyan's bed to let him sleep, those lights would illuminate the entire room, turning it into a warm color. People who are reflected in warm colors will also feel warm. Occasionally, Pei Jingshu would gently hold her cheeks with her beautiful hands and stare at Gu Huiyan stupidly. She had cut her hair short, but Gu Huiyan, the old lady, didn't know what had happened in the past 6 months, but her hair had grown longer. He had a fever and sweated a lot last night, and his bangs were all tangled, which made Gu Huiyan look a little embarrassed. The quilt wasn't evenly covered, it was crooked, and he was always so casual no matter what he did. Gu Huiyan, who was sleeping, no longer had his usual playful smile, his eyes were closed and there was no expression on his face. If he kept looking at him, who had always looked good, he was actually quite handsome. After staring for a long time, Pei Jingshu couldn't help but find 2 tissues, wipe Gu Huiyan's forehead and arrange his hair a little. "Call." Not knowing what she thought of, Pei Jingshu breathed a sigh of relief. They had lived very hard in the past 6 months, and she saw some fatigue on Gu Huiyan's face. The same tiredness would occasionally appear on her face when she looked in the mirror. She thought that they should get back together as they are now, otherwise they would just part ways. She really didn't know when she would be able to come out. "Maybe you won't be able to get out for the rest of your life, right?" Well, it should be. She and Gu Huiyan are really the same kind of people. They are all people who take their feelings very seriously. Alas. Outside the door, the 2 staff members occasionally peeked in, but Zhang Nuan had a look on her face as if she was trying to make candy. Occasionally, she secretly filmed a video to post a marketing account. But for someone like Pei Ya, it was as if she had been stuffed with dog food, with a constipated expression on her face, which was always ugly. "I really can't see anything. Let's go. Let me go buy lunch with you." Pei Ya, who had been talking about work all morning, couldn't stand it anymore and went to buy lunch. In the room, it was really peaceful. Ding dong. At this moment, Gu Huiyan's cell phone rang. Pei Jingshu was stunned and subconsciously picked up Gu Huiyan's cell phone. She swore that she never thought about peeking at the contents of Gu Huiyan's phone. She just heard the noise and was afraid of waking him up, so she wanted to mute it for him. But who knew that as soon as she picked up the phone, facial recognition would immediately open the lock screen for her. At that time, Pei Jingshu was stunned for a moment, couldn't help but smile, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and then turned to look at Gu Huiyan. It turns out that he has never deleted his facial recognition. When they were together in the past, both parties had set up facial recognition on each other's phones and exchanged passwords. These were the most basic. Just now, Pei Jingshu thought about trying to change the password, but it turned out that there was no need to try the password, and the facial recognition was turned on directly. She smiled and shook her head gently. She had no intention of looking at Hwaien's phone and planned to put it down. This is not a question of trust or distrust, this is purely a question of politeness and respect. She, Pei Jingshu, still has this kind of education. But at this moment, a notification popped up from a music software on Gu Huiyan's phone. That reminder caught Pei Jingshu's attention. Gu Huiyan slept until lunchtime. After sleeping, he was obviously much more energetic, and his eyelids no longer seemed to be unable to open as before. Everyone could see this, but during the meal, this old six still something happened. Hey, I'm not excited. When lunch was handed to him, he pretended to be unable to pick up chopsticks and stared at Pei Jingshu secretly. Not to mention Pei Jingshu, even the assistant next to him noticed his little juju. I'll feed you. As Gu Huiyan's personal assistant, Zhang Nuan was obligated and took up this important task directly, grabbing his chopsticks and shouting. Come on, what do you want to eat? Gu Huiyan. Aim. Zhang Nuan, if you don't want to do it anymore, you can just say so. The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched. Pook. Everyone around her laughed. Pei Jingshu reluctantly took the chopsticks from Zhang Nuan and said. Let me do it. Then, she actually fed Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was so nourished. One moment she said I want to eat that cauliflower, and the next moment she said I want to eat your tofu, bah. I want to eat that tofu. Pei Jingshu patiently helped her pick it up, but it was impossible for Gu Huiyan to say that it was so cheap. Occasionally, Pei Jingshu saw ginger, pepper, chili pepper, etc. in some dishes, and she would specially put it in the dish and put it into Gu Huiyan's mouth with chopsticks. Gu Huiyan, he has 100% trust in Pei Jingshu, so he basically stuffs it into his mouth without even looking at it, and only eats it when the taste is not right. Ha, what is this? It's killing me. Why is this ginger so big? No. You're going to put this stuff in my mouth too. Pei Jingshu is also quite interesting. When she caught Sichuan peppercorns, she said she didn't see them. When she caught ginger cubes, she said she mistook them for potato chunks. When she caught peppers, she said she thought they were shredded pork. There is always an excuse. When Gu Huiyan questioned her the first few times, Pei Jingshu said she was careless. Later, when the number of times increased, Pei Jingshu no longer pretended. Every time Gu Huiyan was tricked, she had a successful expression and lightly covered her red lips with her beautiful hands. Laughing. Puff. The staff eating beside them were all laughing. If Gu Huiyan hadn't stared at them, they would have burst out laughing. It would have been very hard to hold it in. Gu Huiyan thought this meal was sweet, but who knew it would taste mixed. The most terrible thing is that he was tortured so much several times that he wanted to find a tissue to spit out. Who knew that Pei Jingshu actually stared at him and said, "Don't waste food." These words definitely couldn't cure Gu Huiyan, but who knew she would say something else right after. If you spit it out, I will never feed you again. Gu Huiyan really swallowed it with tears in his eyes. Your head is too big, okay. Later, when Pei Jingshu was feeding him, he also learned to be smart and stopped eating with the excuse that he had no appetite. Gu Huiyan didn't even eat a few bites of this lunch. In the afternoon, his hungry stomach growled. He originally thought that when Pei Jingshu was gone, he would ask Zhang Nuan to go out and buy some food, but Pei Jingshu spent the whole afternoon. He never left the door of his room. In the end, Gu Huiyan could only lie on the bed with a look of despair, enduring the pain caused by hunger. Pook. Pei Jingshu was amused and giggled. It was around 4 o'clock. She answered the phone and went out. She said she was going to the bathroom, but she went for a long time. When he came back, he carried a KFC bag in his hand. When Gu Huiyan saw the bag, his eyes lit up. Eat quickly, don't make you hungry. Pei Jingshu handed him a beef burger and opened a cup of hot coffee for him. Gu Huiyan only had a common cold and did not need to eat anything. Even if it was more serious, he would need an intravenous drip for 3 days. Well. Gu Huiyan nodded, took the burger and devoured it. Eat slowly. Pei Jingshu was a little frightened when he saw it, and she thought to herself that she must never let him not have enough to eat in the future. At the same time, she also found it funny, and when handing Gu Huiyan coffee, she asked, "Isn't there someone who doesn't even have the energy to eat? It doesn't look like that now." Gu Huiyan, the old man, is also a talented person. He lies without drafting. He chewed a burger in his mouth and said inarticulately, "Then why don't you feed me some food at noon? It will make me feel better." Pook. Pei Jingshu couldn't help but giggle after hearing this. She rolled her eyes at him and said, "There's a way to sweet talk. Some people on the internet always say that Gu Huiyan is a stinky straight man. Pei Jingshu wants to say, come and see if a straight man can say what he just said. Hey hey hey." At this moment, Gu Huiyan was laughing and feeling quite happy. "You are so kind to me when I talk to Pei Jingshu." Hiccup. After eating, he burped and went there, feeling full of strength. If he hadn't known that he had a bad cold and couldn't hold Pei Jingshu, he wished he could have been picked up by Pei Jingshu and spun around. Pei Jingshu smiled and said nothing. Just at this time, Gu Huiyan's assistant Zhang Nuan came back, holding the payment slip in his hand, saying that he wanted to take Gu Huiyan back to the hotel. Gu Huiyan just had a temporary bad cold. He only had a high fever last night. The fever went away today and he had diarrhea. The problem is no longer serious. He can just come back for another day tomorrow. There is no need to stay in the hospital. Let's go. After packing their things, they went back to the hotel together. Pei Jingshu didn't live with them originally and was far away, but she didn't seem to want to go back, or maybe she didn't want to be separated from Gu Huiyan, so she asked her assistant to go back and get her things. Checked out, then went to Gu Huiyan's place to get a room. Of course, she definitely wouldn't say that she didn't want to be separated from Gu Huiyan, she just said that she seldom went to where Gu Huiyan lived. She happened to stay there for 2 days and there was a good local restaurant there. You're so tough. Pei Ya thought to herself, my sister will probably have a hard mouth after being cremated. After returning to the hotel and running around on the road, Gu Huiyan felt a little sleepy again. After he accompanied Pei Jingshu to open the room, he went back to sleep for a while. But who knew that after a good sleep, at night, not to mention Pei Jingshu, not even his own staff, he could not find anyone. After calling Zhang Nuan, I found out that Pei Jingshu took a group of people to eat at the local restaurant she mentioned. No, won't you take me? Gu Huiyan was numb and wanted to say whose staff you guys are, how could you all run away with Pei Jingshu? Zhang Nuan looked apologetic and didn't know what to say to Gu Huiyan. At this time, Pei Jingshu took the call and took all the responsibilities, saying that she was the one who told them not to tell Gu Huiyan. If Gu Huiyan blames him, it's his fault. Her. Just tell me, how could Gu Huiyan blame Pei Jingshu at this stage? He couldn't even be coaxed. Pei Jingshu was not unreasonable. She even explained to Gu Huiyan with a smile. I didn't call you. You just ate in the afternoon. Can you eat now? Gu Huiyan was speechless again. He stood up and felt his stomach. It seemed that it was really full and nothing could be filled. Why are you waiting here for me after all this fuss? Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes, thinking that Pei Jingshu bought him a hamburger in the afternoon because he was afraid that he would be hungry and wait here for a long time. No, why don't you take me there? Wouldn't it be more uncomfortable if I go there and not be able to eat? The more Gu Huiyan thought about it, the more frustrated he became. Then how could he throw people into a hotel? You guys are going to leave me alone and isolate yourself. Pei Jingshu shrugged noncommittally, and then said something that Gu Huiyan could not refute and felt ashamed. Someone asked my sister and everyone on my concert team to prepare live connections without telling me. I feel like what I am doing now is not worth mentioning compared to those, right? Gu Huiyan fell silent for a moment, unable to even say I. Indeed. Gu Huiyan also pulled Pei Ya along before Pei Jingshu prepared for the concert. Except for Pei Jingshu herself, all the staff turned against her. It was a surprise that such a big thing was not disclosed to Pei Jingshu in advance. Now, wouldn't Pei Jingshu just take his team out for a meal without him? Compared with what he does, this is nothing. There's no comparison at all, okay. You still hold a grudge. Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently, thinking to himself that this was a naked revenge. Sure enough, if you go out to hang out, you will have to pay it back sooner or later. Heaven's way is so easy to reincarnate, who will God spare? Then you guys have a good time and have fun. Gu Huiyan smiled helplessly and couldn't get angry anymore. He just said, come back and ask me for reimbursement. This was quite new to hear. Pei Jingshu smiled subconsciously and asked, do you think I, Pei Jingshu, can't afford to treat these people to a meal? She turned on the speakerphone and said to Gu Huiyan's assistant and others. Although someone didn't come, he said he wanted to treat him. You can order whatever you want and your boss will foot the bill. Oh. On the phone, the roars of Zhang Nuan's group of heartless people came. The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched and he said, you better not come back. If you come back, labor and management will kill you. After hanging up the phone, Gu Huiyan threw the phone aside and silently held his forehead, thinking that he was really alone now. But to be honest, Gu Huiyan was feeling uncomfortable right now. He really couldn't eat much, and he wasn't very willing to go out. He might as well stay in the hotel and take a nap. Now that everything has settled, he can finally have a good rest. I was just thinking this. Ding dong dong. The cell phone he threw aside suddenly rang. Gu Huiyan thought it was Pei Jingshu and the others who had something else to do, but when he took it over and took a look, he found that the caller was actually Zhang Ma. Gu Huiyan was stunned. Normally Zhang Ma would contact Zhang Nuan through the company when something happened. Then Zhang Nuan informed Gu Huiyan to discuss this with him and called him directly. It seemed like it was the first time. Hey, boss. Gu Huiyan usually calls Zhang Dan Zhang Ma or boss. She treats Gu Huiyan well and is a beau in the true sense. Oh, are you feeling better from your cold? Mother Zhang obviously knew that Gu Huiyan had a fever and went to the hospital last night, so she came up to show concern. Gu Huiyan must have said that the problem was not big. Just a little cold could kill someone. Compared with the last car accident, it was nothing like Karami. Mother Zhang laughed and joked, look, your boy is in good spirits. It seems that he has embraced the beauty. Gu Huiyan said that I would like to thank you more for your help, and I will rely on you more in the future. Mother Zhang couldn't stand listening to her sweet talk. Is this still the naughty kid who ignored all my promises? Gu Huiyan was so ashamed to say that. The two of them chatted for a while, and after making sure that Gu Huiyan was fine and in good spirits, Mother Zhang said. Is it convenient for you to talk there? Gu Huiyan was stunned when he heard this. He knew that Zhang Ma had something to do with calling him alone at this time. They all went to eat with Jingshu, and I was the only one, Gu Huiyan said. Mother Zhang nodded and said something that Gu Huiyan had almost forgotten. She says. Your contract will expire in a year, right? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Bulletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 349. Contract. Gu Huiyan was stunned. Don't tell me, he seemed to have thought of this some time ago. In the early years, Gu Huiyan, who was still an amateur, signed a 5-year contract with his current company Guanjao Media. Generally, artist companies sign new hires for 5 to 8 years. They invest in the first 2 years and provide some resources in the next few years. There can be no reward like this. Gu Huiyan was rather unlucky. In the 2 years after he joined the company, he died suddenly during the draft. In the next 2.5 years, he had no resources, and it took him a long time to get into Crystal Love season. In addition, it has been nearly 2 years since he became popular last year. If you calculate the time, the contract will expire in the next year. He must be the most concerned about his own affairs. Gu Huiyan definitely doesn't need to be reminded by Zhang Ma about the contract. He plans to mention this matter to the company soon. I do remember. Gu Huiyan nodded and chatted with Mother Zhang for a while. This kid has learned to have high emotional intelligence now. He always said good things about the company and said that he was grateful to the company for taking care of him in the past few years. Mother Zhang was so happy that she couldn't help but say, "It's just the two of us talking. There's no one else here, so there's no need to talk like this." Gu Huiyan laughed and said this was not just a pretentious comment, it was completely from the bottom of his heart. "Mother Zhang, take a look. Believe it or not. Okay, stop talking about useless things and tell me what you plan to do." Ma Zhang asked as she really didn't want to listen to Gu Huiyan's useless nonsense. Plan. Gu Huiyan scratched his head, and for a moment he didn't know what to tell Ma Zhang, or whether he should tell Ma Zhang. In fact, when an artist's contract expires, there are basically two options, renewal and job hopping. However, when it reaches Gu Huiyan's stage, there will naturally be a corresponding increase in choices. In addition to the above two options, he can also choose to set up his own personal studio, or directly start his own company. After all, ordinary artists choose to renew their contracts with the company simply because the company has resources beyond their control and can be a behind-the-scenes promoter for them, which is of great help. But at Gu Huiyan's stage, his star effect has become very strong. In many cases, he no longer needs to find resources, but resources come to him. So in this case, the company's role is minimal. Not to mention, Guanjao Media, where Gu Huiyan works, is not large in scale and does not have many resources. The company also takes a cut of your announcement fee. Perhaps it is true that for artists who become popular, many brokerage companies will make corresponding concessions in terms of profit sharing, but if you are popular enough and make enough money, even if you make a big step forward, you will still lose money. Unless the company gives you some shares, the annual dividends can make up for the commission, and then you open a personal studio affiliated with the company, that is acceptable, and the others are. All in all, if there are no special benefits, few artists will continue to maintain their previous contract with the company after becoming popular. Gu Huiyan's plan was actually to just, not renew the contract. He wanted to set up his own personal studio like Pei Jingshu. It's not that he doesn't like the company he works for. This company is also very good to him. The year it first became famous, it changed the share ratio a lot, allowing him to get more benefits. The main reason is that he wants to be more free. He has a contract with the company. No matter how popular you are, you have to complete many tasks assigned by the company. Gu Huiyan is indeed an angry young man, but he has really lived through enough life, and he really doesn't want to be like before, busy with Pei Jingshu and not seeing each other for several months. If he opens a studio, he is the boss. He can work when he wants to and rest when he doesn't want to. How comfortable this is. And after setting up a personal studio, even if he lies still every year, the copyright fees for his songs are enough to keep him awake. Speaking of this, we have to mention that when Gu Huiyan authorized the song copyright to the company for operation, he only gave the management rights but not the copyright. So if he were to leave, these 2 more albums would definitely be lost. Follow him. With the quality, influence, and popularity of these two albums, as well as Gu Huiyan's own reputation, traffic, and popularity, just eating these two albums every year is enough. After all, they don't need to share with the company. In other words, as soon as he leaves the company, Gu Huiyan can lie down without any restraints. The above are actually Gu Huiyan's plans. But these words are not easy to tell Zhang Ma. After all, she is also the boss of Gu Huiyan's current company, Guanzhou Media. I haven't thought about it yet. Gu Huiyan grinned and planned to pretend first, but Zhang Ma said directly. I think you don't plan to renew your contract. Ah. Gu Huiyangzhen said that my thoughts are so easy to see through. Ahem, that. Gu Huiyan's eyes were turning and he was still thinking about making excuses. He didn't know if he was not feeling well today, but he always felt that his brain was a little slow. He who usually lied without drafting his face, blushed, and his heart didn't beat, couldn't think of an excuse for a while. You kid. Mother Zhang was very happy and said. You don't have to be so open-minded about me. It doesn't matter. You can just tell me what you think. Anyway, the company you are in is just one of the companies under my name. As soon as these words came out, Gu Huiyan breathed a sigh of relief. Also, Zhang Ma had stakes in many companies. This was just a small company, so there really wouldn't be any conflicts just because Gu Huiyan didn't renew the contract. If the conversation goes well, she might even help Gu Huiyan resolve the company's objections to not renewing the contract. So Gu Huiyan nodded and told Zhang Ma about his plan. His plan was really simple, it was just to open a personal studio. It is indeed a good choice for you now. Mother Zhang nodded, first expressed her approval, and then asked with a smile. But I think you have other, better choices, right? Gu Huiyan couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard this and said. There's really nothing you can't see through. Yes, Gu Huiyan does have a better choice. The fact that his contract is about to expire is not only known to him and the company, but also to many people. In other words, many people are watching the expiration of Gu Huiyan's contract. There is also competition among artist management companies. Each company has its own leading artists, and poaching is not uncommon. Therefore, when the contract of the leading artist is about to expire, he will basically receive an invitation from another company. Basically, those invitations will have very favorable conditions, at least much better than the treatment of the artist's current company, otherwise he will definitely not be able to poach him. Gu Huiyan's current company, Guanzhou Media, is not large in scale. With his growth rate in the past 2 years, continuing to stay will actually limit his development. He knows this, and many big companies also know this, so they have long been eyeing the expiration date of Gu Huiyan's contract. Recently, several very well-known big companies have offered him an olive branch and offered him good conditions. Not to mention how tempting it is. In addition to the promise of endorsement resources, the sky-high signing fee, how many songs to release each year, and how many albums to produce were all given to Gu Huiyan according to the highest standards. After all, Gu Huiyan now is almost like a piece of gold, and everyone treats him like a treasure. If you don't talk about anything else, just talk about the commercial value that the 20 or 30 songs in his 2 albums can bring, it will definitely make those big companies make a lot of money. This is a glittering money tree. Those big companies just shout to Gu Huiyan. Wow, golden legend. Zhang Ma smiled and asked Gu Huiyan. Aren't you going to consider joining some big companies? It is indeed free to open a personal studio, but everything depends on you and your team. Many large brokerage companies are very professional when it comes to announcing resources, work development, etc. If you do it yourself, God knows how much more money you will need. How many detours have been taken? It would be a waste if Gu Huiyan's many works were just used to earn royalties. But Gu Huiyan didn't care much about this. He is always a person who is easily contented. As long as money is enough for him, as long as energy and water flow continuously, don't be greedy or bite off more than he can chew. God knows how many troubles are waiting for him when he goes to a big company. In short, neither side is easy, and Gu Huiyan still wants to choose the easier side. Don't think about it. Gu Huiyan laughed and joked. I have a bad temperament, so don't smear me anymore for those big companies. These words made Mother Zhang very happy, and she said angrily that you have a good idea. To be honest, when Gu Huiyan came here, there were very few people in this place besides Zhang Ma who could clean him up. Ha ha. Gu Huiyan laughed and thanked Ma Zhang for mentioning this, and the two chatted for a while. When the conversation was almost over, Zhang Ma finally revealed the purpose of tonight. She says, have you considered setting up your own company? Start a company? Gu Huiyan scratched his head. He was about to say that opening a personal studio would be too overwhelming for me. Forget it if I open a company. But don't make it difficult for me. I'll be fine as a hands-off shopkeeper. Who knew that Ma Zhang would immediately say, if you do it, I can consider taking a stake and we can start a company together. As soon as these words came out, Gu Huiyan could not say any words of rejection no matter what. He was stunned, obviously not expecting Zhang Ma to make such a suggestion, but it seemed that it was in line with her style of doing things. She knew very well that Gu Huiyan didn't like to be restricted by the company. The current small company had also restricted his development. He needed a freer and richer platform. She has the resources and connections. She has been involved in domestic entertainment for many years and is well versed in the industry's insider knowledge. She can definitely open a company with Gu Huiyan. Although the scale may not be too large, it is unknown how many artists she can recruit in the future, but even if there are only Gu Huiyan, a money tree is enough to earn her a lot of money every year. By the way, she estimated that if she did this, she would definitely withdraw her shares from Guanzhou Media. She had already seen enough of those annoying, short-sighted and timid people. To be honest, the suggestion put forward by Zhang Ma was so tempting that Gu Huiyan really couldn't refuse. But just agreeing like that seems to be too hasty. You should think about it first, there is no need to reply so quickly. Zhang Ma said. If Pei Jingshu is here, you can also have a chat with her. It would be great if you can get her to join the team. Pei Jingshu has never signed a contract with a company and has always been her own personal studio. Although her agent sister Zhang Dan doesn't like her, I have to say that she is quite skillful and has helped Pei Jingshu block many things. She has not missed any announcements, exposures, and marketing. Over the years, she has personally obtained all kinds of big-name resources. If an ordinary person invites Pei Jingshu to sign a contract with a company, she will definitely not even look at it. Pei Ya may even be killed before the invitation even reaches her. But who told this to be the company Gu Huiyan wanted to open? Gu Huiyan is already a pretty big money tree, but Pei Jingshu's business value is just as high as him. With these two treasures of the mountain here, are you worried about not being able to open the company? At that time, many newcomers will rush forward and succeed. Okay, let me think about it. Gu Huiyan thought for a while and replied. There should be nothing wrong with what I say. I can't guarantee Jingshu's side. She can come if she wants to. If she doesn't want to come, I won't force her. To be honest, Gu Huiyan doesn't really want to have contact with Pei Jingshu on topics such as business, money, interests, etc. You said that boyfriend and girlfriend usually give each other a gift, even if it costs tens or millions, it won't matter. It's a no-brainer, but once it's linked to business and personal assets are involved, problems can easily arise. Any relationship in this world can easily deteriorate once it is linked to interests. So even though he knew that running a company together would bring a lot of benefits to Pei Jingshu, Gu Huiyan still didn't want her to be tied to him easily at work. Okay, I'll wait for your news. Mother Zhang nodded, exchanged a few brief greetings, and told Gu Huiyan to take medicine and rest early to get better quickly. After being busy with work, she hung up the phone. Call. Throwing away his cell phone, Gu Huiyan lay in the quiet hotel room with his hands behind his head and stared at the ceiling in a daze for a while. Start a company. Gu Huiyan also didn't expect that he would reach this point so quickly. Changes have been so fast in the past 2 years. He has gone from a simple dear man with only a few W in savings to a so-called top-tier star, a superstar with assets of over 100 million. In fact, they are all a little uncomfortable. Maybe it's because he's been busy with work all day long. In the past 6 months, he's been scolded all day long for not being able to keep a high profile. Look at him now, he doesn't even have a house or a car to his name. Sometimes, it feels a bit unreal. Crotchran, you said that you want Gu Huiyan to buy a luxury car costing tens of millions to drive, and buy a mansion worth tens of millions to live in, to get some so-called sense of reality, but he still won't do it. He has no intention of doing this. As I thought about it, time passed by unknowingly. I don't know if he slept a lot during the day or if he was too excited about opening a company. It was already very late, but Gu Huiyan didn't feel sleepy at all. Hee, ha ha. Very late, the sound of a group of people laughing could be heard outside. Gu Huiyan and his friends' rooms were in the same room, so from the sound, Gu Huiyan knew that it was Zhang Nuan and his friends who were back. Gu Huiyan was so angry when he mentioned this group of scoundrels that he didn't want to talk to them at all. He pulled up the quilt and planned to go to sleep. But who knows, just a few minutes later. Dong dong dong. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Gu Huiyan thought it was Zhang Nuan and the others who came to express their condolences, but when he opened the door and saw that iconic short hair and the slender figure wrapped in a white down jacket, turned out to be Pei Jingshu. Come to laugh at me. Gu Huiyan is not in a good mood. You are isolated by a group of people. How can you be in a good mood? Pook. Pei Jingshu couldn't help but smile when she heard this. Only then did Gu Huiyan notice that her hands were behind her back. Pei Jingshu didn't show off and took out a bag of vegetables packed from the hotel and said, "If you don't have an appetite, I'll take it back for breakfast tomorrow morning." With that said, she turned around and left. Hey, no, no, no. Gu Huiyan, the old man, was also born in the year of the dog. He was very angry just now. He turned around and pulled Pei Jingshu in with a smile on his face. He turned against her faster than turning the page in a book. Pei Jingshu smiled and rolled her eyes at him, then obediently carried her things in. After putting down the packed meals, she ran to the door unhurriedly, took off her white down jacket and white scarf, and hung them on the hangers. After all, she is a female star who does not rely on side effects to reap the benefits. Whether on camera or in daily life, Pei Jingshu does not like to wear very revealing clothes, especially in winter. Velvet denim trousers are always put on her legs. Despite this, those jade legs are still slender, and the legs are in good shape. After hanging up the clothes, she came back and opened the dinner she had packed and brought back for Gu Huiyan. There are 3 boxes, not much stuff, a whitebait soup, a bisnail shrimp, and a 3 fresh wonton. It is relatively light and more suitable for a patient like Gu Huiyan. At night, it shouldn't be too big. Gu Huiyan has been in Suzhou for a while to prepare for the concert. He has basically eaten many well-known local dishes. However, as a northerner, Gu Huiyan is more heavy-mouthed, so Pei Jingshu brought these Gu Huiyan rarely out. The food is relatively fresh. If you want to say it's delicious, that's not true. It's packed and brought back. No matter how delicious it is, if it's simmered for dozens of minutes, it will affect the taste. But who told it to be brought back by Pei Jingshu? Gu Huiyan just thought it was delicious and basically drank it all without even a mouthful of soup left. Call. This made him no longer hiccup, but let out a long breath, and almost shouted enjoyed. Pei Jingshu was very virtuous. She waited quietly for him to finish eating, and then helped him pack his lunch box. After packing, it was already getting late, and she was leaving. But Gu Huiyan grabbed her hand and asked, "Is it okay if I don't walk?" Pei Jingshu was stunned for a moment, then blushed with embarrassment, frowned and said, "You haven't recovered from your cold yet, so what are you thinking about all day long?" Gu Huiyan was still making excuses, saying, "My main thing is, that, I sleep alone at night and I'm scared." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 350. Pook. Pei Jingshu couldn't think of Gu Huiyan's excuse even after racking her brains. Sometimes I really want to open his tofu brain and take a good look at what's inside. Are you still a child? Do I still need to feed you milk? The pure white jade hand wrapped under the sleeve of the gray sweater stretched out and gently pinched the hand that Gu Huiyan was holding onto with his index finger and thumb. Pei Jingshu teased angrily. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan subconsciously followed Pei Jingshu's words and glanced at her chest. Obscene. Pei Jingshu suddenly blushed with embarrassment and was about to slap Gu Huiyan. "No, isn't that what you asked me?" Gu Huiyan's face says innocent in capital letters. "My dear, is it now fashionable to trick people's heads into a knife and cut them off?" Pei Jingshu was speechless for a moment. It seemed that she really meant breastfeeding, and then Gu Huiyan looked at it. It seems that Gu Huiyan is not to blame, right? No, she said, "Does he have to watch it?" In spite of. Gu Huiyan is to blame anyway. If you look again, I'll dig out your eyes. She crossed her hands on her shoulders to protect her chest and glared at Gu Huiyan fiercely. Gu Huiyan had no choice but to look away. Seeing that Pei Jingshu was about to leave, he had no excuse to stay, so he simply sat there and started to get angry. "Oh, we are alone and have no one to take care of me when I am sick. As for me, I like to kick myself under the quilt at night. If I catch a cold or have a fever at night, no one will feel sorry for me, right? Let's go, let's go. No one ever cares about me anyway." After saying that, Gu Huiyan turned around and entered the room. He lay down on the bed, pulled the quilt over him out of boredom, and started pretending to be dead from there. This scoundrel really took advantage of Pei Jingshu's soft-heartedness, even though Pei Jingshu knew very well that the words he said were all lies. "Why do you like to kick the quilt at night? Are you still a child?" However, when I think about Gu Huiyan having a fever last night, and having a few fevers during the day today, and his voice is so nasal when he speaks, it doesn't look like he has recovered. She can't bear it. Although she was shy and her face was red, Pei Jingshu rubbed her forehead helplessly, then walked to Gu Huiyan's bedside with her eyebrows furrowed. At that time, Gu Huiyan was wrapped in a quilt and pretending to be dead. When he heard the footsteps, he felt relieved. He knew that Pei Jingshu would not have the heart to leave him alone. Soon, Pei Jingshu's shy voice appeared beside his bed. She says, "Then, I'll go back and get some toiletries. You, remember to open the door for me." Gu Huiyan couldn't help but raised his head and glanced at Pei Jingshu after hearing the words. Under the dim light, that delicate and pretty face that could be called a disaster for the country and the people was full of shyness. She even avoided looking at Gu Huiyan, although she looked a little, it's a twist, but it really feels like it's trying to squeeze people's hearts. Absolutely amazing. Gu Huiyan had every reason to believe that even if Pei Jingshu would only be held to sleep tonight as before, as long as he persisted, pushing Pei Jingshu to bed tonight would definitely not be a problem. But for some reason, looking at Pei Jingshu like this, Gu Huiyan suddenly felt a little guilty, thinking that they had just gotten back together. Was he right to morally kidnap Pei Jingshu like this? Also, he has a bad cold here. If he leaves Pei Jingshu overnight at this time, will he really not infect her? I really couldn't help it when we kissed during the day. We were reunited after a long separation. It was amazing that a mere cold could block Gu Huiyan's unexpressed emotions. Just a simple close contact is not a big problem. If they really sleep together, it should be difficult not to be infected, right? The Chinese New Year is about to come, and Pei Jingshu still has a lot of performance work. At this time, it is not good to have a cold and fever that affects her throat. On the contrary, they are getting back together now. There will be many opportunities in the future, so Gu Huiyan is not in a hurry. Cough. So Gu Huiyan coughed lightly and said, "No. Let's forget it. You stay a little longer and we can chat." Pei Jingshu was quite surprised when she heard this. She looked at Gu Huiyan with a red face and asked strangely, "Have you burned out your brain?" She didn't think that Gu Huiyan was the kind of person who wouldn't eat the food before it was put to his mouth. He had almost eaten her several times before. "Gu Huiyan. Get the things, hurry up, I will let you get off the bed tonight and I will take your last name." Forget it then." Pei Jingshu was already extremely shy, so Gu Huiyan naturally walked down the steps. She found a paper cup, helped Gu Huiyan make cold medicine, poured herself a cup of hot water, and then sat on the sofa opposite Gu Huiyan's bed. Pei Jingshu is very upright and well behaved. Even when there are no cameras on weekdays, she always sits and stands. She eats slowly and never wolfs down her food. Do you see it now? Sitting on the sofa, she didn't show any signs of hunching or bending over, let alone crossing her legs. She just held the cup and leaned on the back of the sofa obediently, looking up at Gu Huiyan with her delicate face and smiling. She really has that kind of slender beauty. The tight knitted sweater just outlines the shape of her arms very well. Because she is very thin, her shoulders are well shaped, and her collarbones appear more protruding. She is simply a natural clothes hanger. How do you see the image of a well-behaved socialite? She always makes many people feel ashamed in front of her. How vindictive. Gu Huiyan drank the cold medicine and couldn't help but joke about what Pei Jingshu did that night. Pei Jingshu chuckled, and finally stopped being harsh and said, "You sleep so soundly at night, who would have the heart to disturb you?" How could she really bring only the staff and not Gu Huiyan? The main reason was that Gu Huiyan slept so soundly at night. She had originally planned for them to go out to eat and come back and pack it for Gu Huiyan, but she said it differently. Gu Huiyan was quite touched by these words. Pei Jingshu happened to be pulling up her hair. She was not sure if she was afraid that Gu Huiyan would feel guilty when she saw her short hair hanging loose, so Pei Jingshu always used to pull her hair up when she was in front of Gu Huiyan. Hold it up, or wear a hat like this. Although her hair was very short and only had a small jiao on the back of her head, she still tried her best to hold it up. "This is for you." Gu Huiyan handed her a mask. If she was close to him in the room, it was best to wear it to avoid being infected. Pei Jingshu glanced at him and said in a funny way while taking the mask, "I didn't remember to give me a mask during the day." Gu Huiyan must have known what she was talking about. He was thick-skinned and didn't care, and even said in a coquettish way, "Wearing this thing affects the taste." "Ashamed, aren't you ashamed of yourself?" Pei Jingshu rolled her eyes at him angrily while putting on her mask. How could this guy always say things so easily that made her blush instantly? Gu Huiyan shrugged, put on a mask himself, then got off the bed and sat on the sofa, raised his hand and gently touched Pei Jingshu's tied hair. "This hair is still black and beautiful, but it is not as big as before." "You still look good with long hair," Gu Huiyan said. This time, Pei Jingshu did not feel aggrieved again. Instead, she held hot water, looked across her watery eyes, and asked Gu Huiyan. You mean, it doesn't look good now? Gu Huiyan didn't know how to answer for a while. Just kidding, no matter how long or short her hair is, even if she shaves her head and dresses like a nun, she, Pei Jingshu, will never be associated with the word unsightly. Although Pei Jingshu was distressed by the whole internet after she cut her short hair, and fans wanted to be honest with Gu Huiyan offline because of this, but you can go and do some research. Did anyone say that her short hair doesn't look good from beginning to end? It looks good, everything looks good. The strong desire to survive made Gu Huiyan do his best to praise Pei Jingshu. He also said that if you don't want to grow your hair long, I won't grow it. I will listen to you. Pei Jingshu rolled her eyes at him, then turned her head and snickered, but speaking of her hair, it was indeed a pity. She was very sad at the time, so she threw away the hair. In fact, it could be sold for money, but unfortunately she didn't lack that little money. Do you think it's easy to grow your hair back? For ordinary girls, it is indeed quite easy. Hair extensions are now available in barber shops. You just need to add some hair before your hair grows long. But for Pei Jingshu, it is not that easy. The quality of her hair is very good, even the most expensive and highest quality hair in the hair salon is completely incomparable. If you ask her Pei Jingshu to get some hair like that, she might as well wait for her own hair to grow slowly. She's not that hypocritical. Good-looking people don't always care about these things. I don't know if she raised her hair and thought of sad things again. Pei Jingshu pursed her lips, turned to look into Gu Huiyan's eyes, hesitated, and finally asked. Will you, still be in contact with her? Gu Huiyan was stunned for a moment. He was smiling playfully just now, but now his smile froze in place. There was a bit of surprise on his face, probably because he was immersed in the sweetness after getting back together, and it almost made people forget what happened before. Gu Huiyan obviously didn't expect that Pei Jingshu would suddenly talk about this topic. But again, this topic seems to be something they can't avoid no matter what. It would be strange if Pei Jingshu didn't mention it. Pei Jingshu didn't speak, she just stared at Gu Huiyan silently. Because she was wearing a mask, it was impossible to tell what her expression or mood was. She knew very well that Gu Huiyan knew who she was talking about. Likewise, she also became a little cautious, as if she also felt that after she chose to forgive Gu Huiyan, she shouldn't mention this matter? Not anymore. Gu Huiyan's sudden words interrupted Pei Jingshu's cautious thoughts. What surprised Pei Jingshu was that Gu Huiyan did not hesitate for long this time, nor did he hesitate at all. He just looked up at the ceiling and told Pei Jingshu in a slightly heavy tone. Never again. At this moment, Gu Huiyan no longer had the playful smile on his face when he was joking and being funny. Both his tone and expression were quite serious. Pei Jingshu stared at Gu Huiyan blankly. At that moment, for some reason, she felt a little sorry for Gu Huiyan. The hot water in her hand was placed on the small table beside her. She moved closer to Gu Huiyan, her two jade arms wrapped around Gu Huiyan's waist, and her delicate and pretty face wrapped in a white mask leaned against Gu Huiyan's chest. Superior. She didn't say anything else, didn't ask any more, and didn't blame Gu Huiyan anymore. She couldn't be too tolerant in this matter, but the matter was over, and everyone paid a huge price for it, especially those who had already the person who left. Now, there is little point in saying that. We will never mention this again. She spoke very quietly, even with a hint of crying, and her arms holding Gu Huiyan became tighter and tighter, as if she wanted to rub Gu Huiyan into her body. Gu Huiyan rubbed her head. Even though she had short hair, it did not affect the feel at all. Gu Huiyan pretended to smile casually and said, "It doesn't matter. Whether it hurts or not, it has passed." If you ask Gu Huiyan if it still hurts now, he will definitely not say it still hurts, because the scar has healed and just left a scar. The function of scars is only to remind you of those things that happened in the past and to remind you of the painful feeling, but it will not make you miserable forever. Now that everything has settled, Gu Huiyan feels that it is better to enjoy the moment. It was past 11 o'clock at night in the room. Pei Jingshu, who was wearing a mask, hugged Gu Huiyan for a long time. What she knew was that Gu Huiyan asked her to stay with him. What she didn't know was that Pei Jingshu was reluctant to leave Gu Huiyan. While Gu Huiyan was playing with Pei Jingshu's shiny black hair, he couldn't help but think. It seems that until this moment, everything has finally turned upside down, right? He was really a little glad that Pei Jingshu mentioned this matter. If he hadn't mentioned it and kept it in his heart, if there was a quarrel one day in the future, this would be the best weapon to slander the other party. Say it and everything will be better. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let me tell you something else. After a while, Gu Huiyan said softly. What's up? Pei Jingshu sat up, raised her jade hand to gently wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes, and looked at Gu Huiyan strangely. That's right, my contract expires in the next year, and then. Gu Huiyan told him what Zhang Ma had just told him tonight, and also told him that they planned to open a company together, and that Zhang Ma also wanted to recruit Pei Jingshu to join the company. Of course, what he said was quite implicit, making it clear that Pei Jingshu could be the boss's wife if she wanted to come, but it didn't matter if she didn't want to come. He would not force her, everything would depend on her personal wishes, and she should not compromise because of him. When he said these words, Gu Huiyan suddenly felt a familiar feeling. He suddenly recalled being in the hotel room with Xylin when he was recording a gourmet that year. At that time, Xylin had not yet decided whether to accept the role of Where the Wind Is, and Gu Huiyan also told her not to compromise because of herself. Why do you think so many people are willing to compromise for Gu Huiyan? Zhao. Well, let me ask my sister what she means. Pei Jingshu nodded. She couldn't make the final decision on business matters, because even if it was her personal studio, she didn't have the final say alone. It doesn't matter to her, both Gu Huiyan and Zhang Dan are trustworthy people, and if she joins the team, she won't go to work, but to be the boss's wife. Okay, why don't you ask? Gu Huiyan nodded. Pei Jingshu has never signed a contract with a company since she entered the industry. She has always been a personal studio. With her current status and traffic, if there is no certain benefit, there is no need to get involved with others, even if that person is him. No, no, no. What is surprising is that after hearing this, Pei Ye refused without even thinking, with the word "da" written on her face. Do you know the reason she said? After hearing this, you want to give her a shoe sole. She says. You two are in a sweet relationship now, so there's nothing wrong with it. But if there's another breakup in the future, what will happen to the joint venture? Then we shouldn't break up. Gu Huiyan. Pei Jingshu. It's hard to imagine that Pei Ye's words can silence two people at the same time. They want to say, you just don't want us to be good. How many times can we break up like this? But then again, what Pei Ya said was rough or not. Just say that Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu broke up this time. What a commotion it caused, and it almost ruined everyone. They can swear that they will definitely be fine in the future, but why didn't they say so before breaking up this time? God knows what will happen next. It must be just in case. It makes sense. Realizing this, Gu Huiyan nodded, but Pei Jingshu refused. She raised her chin slightly, stared at Gu Huiyan with a pair of watery eyes, and said. Do you really think there will be a next time? No, I. It was hard for Gu Huiyan to explain at once, so he couldn't say that it was definitely not the case. Why don't you come with me to start a joint venture? Pei Jingshu gave him a helpless look. It was already late, so she pretended to be angry, got up and left. Gu Huiyan scratched his head, the corners of his mouth twitched, and thought to himself that during the day, he called Pei Ya's sister so dearly for nothing, she would only make trouble for him. Anyway, it was late and he was sleepy. If Pei Jingsha didn't leave, it was time for Gu Huiyan to call her back, so he didn't chase her anymore, drank a glass of water and went to sleep. While lying on the bed, Gu Huiyan felt a little pity. Sometimes he wanted to scold himself. MD wanted to save face and suffer in order to maintain the image of a gentleman. You said that if he didn't pretend to be a good person, Pei Jingsha would have to stay. Isn't it appropriate tonight? Thinking of this, Gu Huiyan wanted to slap himself twice, but he could only feel cruel in his heart, saying to himself, wait until I get better from the cold. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 351. The next day came, and it was a very nice sunny day. The sun was still bright and brilliant. It warmed people's bodies and dissipated a lot of the humidity from the south. Probably because he was well cared for, Gu Huiyan felt much better when he got up in the morning. Except for the strong nasal sound and a slight cough, the pain in his nasal cavity and throat was no longer so great. After all, you are young, and you can recover quickly from a severe cold. Because of this, when he went to get an intravenous drip in the morning, he kept saying that he was fine and didn't need to go. He just needed to drink some medicine, and what kind of water should he give? That's not a good thing. As a result, Pei Jingsha refused and insisted that he finish the last day of slinging. Usually, a course of treatment is 3 or 5 days. Gu Huiyan had a fever the day before yesterday, so why couldn't he insist on a course of treatment? Reluctantly, Gu Huiyan had no choice but to agree and go take the last day of injectable medication. Speaking of which, his little cold affected a lot of things. He should have left Suzhou after the concert, but he has been here for more than a month. As a northerner, Gu Huiyan is very adapted to the winter in the south, so even if the temperature in the north is low, he is willing to go home and stay like this for a few days. Of course, the main reason is that it is approaching the New Year's Eve. During the New Year's Eve, Gu Huiyan will go to the Spring Festival Gala and may not be able to go home. Anyway, if he doesn't have much work before the New Year, he might as well go back and stay for 2 days. Talking about work, it's not like there is no work at all. At least the songs from the concert have been produced and released online. Gu Huiyan also has to cooperate with the promotion. There will be an event in Shanghai in 2 days. Speaking of the 5 songs in the concert, they are If I Can, Suddenly Miss You So Much, So What If You Lose and Win the World, Don't Think of Me and Rainy Night. The 5 songs were recorded in advance when preparing for the concert. On the night after Gu Huiyan's concert ended, these 5 songs appeared on major music platforms along with hot searches. The quality is generally very high, and coupled with the popularity of Gu Huiyan's concert that day, these 5 songs immediately reached the top of the hot song charts and new song charts on various platforms. Among them, the song Suddenly Miss You So Much has firmly topped the charts, and clips of the 5 songs have also gone viral on various short video platforms, becoming extremely popular. Therefore, there is an endless stream of activities related to songs. Therefore, before going home, Gu Huiyan had to make a trip to the Shanghai stock market. In fact, this is not the only job Gu Huiyan has. The main reason is that he has not returned to the company yet. According to what Zhang Nuan told him, on the night after the concert, he won the turnaround and his reputation was completely reversed. Almost all of the partners who terminated their contract with him when he bought a house have shamelessly found them again. Not only that, there are also many new cooperation invitations. There are various announcements, such as variety show invitations, party invitations, music festivals, digging holes to make money, and so on. Not to mention advertising and endorsements. It is worth mentioning that a big brand that specializes in couples diamond rings came to Gu Huiyan and said that it wanted him and Pei Jingshu to endorse a couple's ring together. The price was so high that even a celebrity like Gu Huiyan was amazed by it. The point. What's more, Gu Huiyan also received some scripts. Gu Huiyan has received scripts before. Logically speaking, this is not surprising. You are famous. If you have traffic, people will come to you even if you don't know how to act. But in the past, the ones I received were more of the kind of ancient puppet shows, idle dramas, low-cost ones, just for the sake of making money. This time it was different. What I received this time was a supporting role in a main theme movie made by some famous directors. It's the kind of thing where you should be lucky to be able to show your face in it. Am I recognized by the mainstream market? Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently and thought with a wry smile, maybe this circle can indeed be set foot in. Of course, maybe not now. All in all, because the turnaround battle has been fought, Gu Huiyan now has no worries about work. As long as he wants, he can return to his previous state of continuous success at any time. It's completely different from the past half year. The trend on the internet is always very interesting. Whatever Gu Huiyan was scolded before, he can be praised now. Sometimes Gu Huiyan feels a little unreal. Fortunately, he is big-hearted and doesn't care about these things. Otherwise, just this I can't make it through half a year. Have you also received news about the Spring Festival Gala rehearsal? During the infusion, Gu Huiyan asked Pei Jingshu that participating in the Spring Festival Gala was decided in the first half of the year, and the confidentiality agreement was signed long ago. Although due to the breakup incident in the middle of the year, the whole city was in turmoil, and whether or not to go was full of uncertainty, but who asked Gu Huiyan to resolve this matter in the past few days? So he was added to the joint list that originally had his name removed. To be honest, there are not many people watching the Spring Festival Gala these days. It doesn't matter whether Gu Huiyan attends the Spring Festival Gala or not. He no longer needs to rely on the Spring Festival Gala to prove himself. But after all, the Spring Festival Gala is a program that people all over the country watch on New Year's Eve, and it has been an old tradition for decades. Since childhood, adults at home have often said watch the Spring Festival Gala during the New Year. When you grow up, you can watch it as a child. In TV shows, that meaning is also different. On that festive day, you would be quite proud to be able to sing on stage. Yes. Pei Jingshu was carrying a pink thermos cup, opened the lid, poured a glass of water for Gu Huiyan and handed it to him, looking very considerate. No matter how big the breakup controversy is, Pei Jingshu has never had any negative impact. In recent years, she has been a regular guest at the Spring Festival Gala. Last year, she even went on stage to sing a song together no matter how far away. It is said that at that time she has boosted Douyin ratings, so there is no reason why she can't be on it this year. Then we can go together. Gu Huiyan laughed, but he didn't expect that he would be able to participate in the Spring Festival Gala with Pei Jingshu this year. I still remember last year, because he only became popular in the second half of the year, he was not approached by the Spring Festival Gala, which he had started preparing for in the first half of the year. He originally thought he would not be able to go this year, but fortunately he solved all these problems near the end of the year. Pei Jingshu nodded slightly and said. They said they wanted us to do a song together. The two most eye-catching artists throughout this year are Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu. Although their breakup caused a lot of uproar in the city, their reunion has attracted enough attention. Some people even say that they are hype. As long as these two people go there and properly boost the ratings, they must focus on it. Okay, I'll make you a song called Because of Love, Gu Huiyan said with a smile. Pei Jingshu's pretty face turned red, she glared at him and said. Are you so casual in choosing song titles? Isn't this a bad song title? A bit vulgar. But it's very straightforward. As long as you are happy. While the two were chatting, Pei Jingshu thought Gu Huiyan's song title Because of Love was a joke. After the infusion, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. After leaving the hospital, Gu Huiyan took Pei Jingshu with him to a large local hotel. When he arrived, the party had already started. Don't ask what kind of banquet it is, it must be a celebration banquet. Gu Huiyan said before that his little cold had delayed many things, one of which was the celebration party. Logically speaking, after the concert, the celebration banquet should be held while the atmosphere was good that night, but wasn't Gu Huiyan anxious to see Pei Jingshu that night? Who had the nerve to stop him? I wish I could push him. So the celebration banquet was scheduled for the next day. But who knew that Gu Huiyan had a high fever that night and was admitted to the hospital? The next day, he fell into a fever and was in a coma. It was good to be able to get out of bed, let alone a celebration party. The main character hadn't arrived yet, so the celebration banquet was naturally boring, so we had to postpone it again. Today is the third day. Although it was a bit late, fortunately the atmosphere was good. Because Gu Huiyan brought Pei Jingshu here, the group of people were always making noises. He almost had to make a few jokes to talk to Gu Huiyan alone, which even made Pei Jingshu social. I was so scared that I sat on the side with a blushing face the whole time. Pei Jingshu didn't want to come at first. After all, it was Gu Huiyan's concert celebration party. Why was she going? At this time, Gu Huiyan gave her a speech with high emotional intelligence. He said, "Without you, this concert wouldn't be such a success." Pook. This made Pei Jingshu laugh, but having said that, it seemed that it was indeed the case. Without the live connection of their concerts and the stage effect brought by their reunion, this concert would be really interesting. Not so explosive. Later, there would not be so many hot searches on the internet. Glib tongue. Pei Jingshu would definitely not praise Gu Huiyan, but his words were useful, so even though she knew she would be ridiculed if she went, she still came. Probably because of Pei Jingshu's arrival, the atmosphere at the banquet was better. Before the banquet started, Gu Huiyan went up and said a few words. He was not a very formal person, and he was not very good at saying some formal words. He just said a few words like eat well, drink well, and take care of me. Good. Pa bang bang. Fortunately, everyone cheered, and the banquet started during the applause. Gu Huiyan sat at the same table with the chief director, band director, etc. of the creative team, and of course there were several sponsor representatives. If you came to this table and said you didn't have some wine, it would be impossible, so Gu Huiyan served the wine directly with a wave of his hand. At that time, Pei Jingshu gently tugged at the corner of his clothes. When Gu Huiyan looked over, he found her frowning and staring at him. Only then did Gu Huiyan realize that she felt that she was not coping well with the cold and it was best not to drink. Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes and started talking nonsense. Let me tell you, what is this cold and fever? It's the fire in the body. It wants to be released. You see, what do we usually use to reduce inflammation? Alcohol. So drinking some alcohol is not only harmless, but it can also reduce the fire. Pei Jingshu. Aim. Pei Jingshu actually experienced the saying that a man's mouth is a liar today. No wonder you didn't drink cephalosporins today. Pei Jingshu silently held her forehead and suddenly recalled that when Gu Huiyan got cold medicine today, he insisted not to take cephalosporin. Then drink less. She whispered in Gu Huiyan's ear that she had not forgotten the scene where she attended a villager's wedding when she was recording Hello Life Partner in Hainan, and the old man drank so much that he fell unconscious. That time, she also fed Gu Huiyan imported hangover soup. She felt ashamed just thinking about it, and her face turned even redder. At this time, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but drink, it would look like she was ignorant. Absolutely, that goes without saying. With Pei Jingshu's approval, Gu Huiyan laughed and asked the waiter to pour wine. On his lips, Gu Huiyan said to drink as little as possible, but when he started to drink, these words were completely forgotten by Gu Huiyan. Needless to say about the wine table culture, everyone knows that Gu Huiyan has a good drinking capacity, so whether he is a director, producer, etc., anyone who can talk to him, as long as he drinks, will basically come over and talk to Gu Huiyan. One hit. Drink less. Drink some water. Pei Jingshu, who was sitting next to her, kept pouring tea and water for Gu Huiyan, telling him to drink less, and immediately handed the teacup to him when he finished drinking. The people next to me looked envious. That is to say, with a girlfriend as beautiful as Pei Jingshu by his side, I guess Gu Huiyan's wine won't be spicy or bitter, right? It's all sweet. On the contrary, they. Looking at that scene, I felt that the wine in my cup was not only spicy and bitter, but also a little sour. Envy changes people beyond recognition. It is worth mentioning that half an hour after the banquet started, around 12:30 noon, Mother Zhang came. Am I late? Gu Huiyan was quite surprised when he saw Mother Zhang. Many people stood up to greet her. After all, this was the boss Gu Huiyan, the draft godmother of domestic entertainment. Gu Huiyan was the manipulator behind the scenes all the way. No matter in terms of fame or strength, who dared to underestimate her? Come and make some room. Gu Huiyan scratched his head. This boy was quite discerning. Their table was not crowded, so he directly asked the waiter to add chairs. You eat your food, and I'll join in the fun. Mother Zhang sat down with a smile. She was a person in the scene and knew some of the people present. During the exchange and conversation, there was no excitement at all. Instead, her arrival played a role in adding to the fun. Many people at the scene were quite surprised by her arrival. The boss traveled thousands of miles to personally attend the artist's concert celebration banquet. This must be how much attention he paid to him. After 3 drinks and 5 dishes, the band teacher, who had drunk too much, was playing instruments and stirring up the atmosphere. Gu Huiyan was leaning on Pei Jingshu's shoulder, looking helpless. Pei Jingshu looked helpless, feeling that the man when you start drinking, it's useless no matter how much you say. It is worth mentioning that at this moment, Mother Zhang is no longer at Gu Huiyan's table. Instead, she went to the table of Pei Jingshu's agent sister Pei Yat and others with her wine glass. Looking from a distance, they seemed to be talking about something. What are they talking about? Pei Jingshu also noticed it and asked curiously. Have no idea. Gu Huiyan was so drunk that he shook his head, turned over, and put his forehead on Pei Jingshu's neck. This old guy has a little sweat on his head after drinking, so it's Pei Jingshu. Any other girl would have whipped him to death just because she disliked him. Pei Jingshu blushed and pushed him, but she couldn't push him away. Someone next to her looked at them with a half smile, which made her feel embarrassed. Teacher Xiaogu. At this time, music director and keyboard player Zhang Zhou came over, called Gu Huiyan and said, "Would you like to sing the song that I didn't sing before?" He mentioned a song title. Pei Jingshu had never heard of it and was a little confused. Why was it not sung by Gu Huiyan at his concert? Well, okay. Gu Huiyan was not confused at this moment. He had always had a good drinking capacity. It was pure fantasy to drink him down before knocking down these people. As for the song that was not sung, Gu Huiyan knew it well. During the concert, he changed a few songs on the spot, which resulted in several other songs that were not sung. During this period, there was a new song that was prepared in advance and recorded, but there was no time to sing it or release it. Now that we were in the mood for drinking, the band teachers spontaneously went to set the mood. That song was really suitable for singing now. Gu Huiyan is not a person who likes to be a spoiler. Even if his current performance expenses start from tens to millions, he never skimps on singing at a drinking party. Et. Gu Huiyan stood up and staggered away, but Pei Jingshu didn't feel confident about helping him. "I'll come as soon as I go." Gu Huai was very good at setting up the pops, and he made it to the band through his own efforts. They are all a group of musicians with well-equipped equipment. Except for the bass player who drank too much, everyone else is. This song is called 10,000 Times of Sorrow. Let's sing it to cheer everyone up. Gu Huiyan's face turned a little red after drinking. Although his nasal voice was heavy due to a cold, he was a king-level singer after all, and there would be no major problems no matter what he did live. Oh! Pa bang bang! Applause and cheers came to Gu Huiyan at this moment. In the crowd, Pei Ya, Zhang Ma, and many others were applauding. Now, everything has settled, the concert was a complete success, and Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu successfully reunited. Although Gu Huiyan was drunk and still had a bad cold, it was completely obvious that he was in a very relaxed state, and everyone was also give blessings. When his voice fell, when the shouts and applause gradually died down, Gu Huiyan and the guitarist teacher looked at each other. Dong dong dong. The teacher's hand moved across the strings, and the smooth acoustic guitar melody instantly appeared in everyone's ears. Gu Huiyan's singing voice also appeared. "Oh honey! You are all in my mind. Irresistible palpitations. It's hard to breathe. Tonight. Are you going to miss another night? Should we still hide our last expectations? On tonight." I have to say that Gu Huiyan and the guitar teacher have a good understanding. They play and sing almost at the same time, which is very exciting. Not to mention the genre of this song, which is more British rock, which is refreshing and comfortable to listen to. Oh! Many people couldn't help but get goosebumps just listening to it. Under the sunset, they played and sang. At that moment, a sentence emerged in everyone's mind unconsciously. Love rises in the east and falls in the west, romance will last until death. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 352. Chapter 347. If your clothes are torn, then, take them down. I don't know if it was because of the cold, but Gu Huiyan's voice was a little hoarse, but it happened to be like this, adding a bit of magnetism to his voice. It was already 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the evening sunlight gradually turned orange-red, shining on Gu Huiyan's body and adding a bit of laziness to him. Gu Huiyan, who is slightly drunk, sings more casually, probably because the atmosphere is very good at this time. His eclectic way of singing whenever he wants is really attractive. 10,000 Times of Sorrow. When Gu Huiyan sang this line, the drums, electric guitar, bass, and other instruments that had been waiting for a long time rose up with him. They played while he sang. There will still be a dream. I've been waiting for you in the warmest place. It seems like this is the only way, there is only one direction. Can't change. The setting sun refracted in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflected on Gu Huiyan's face, and also reflected on Pei Jingshu's short hair. The atmosphere of 10,000 Times of Sorrow is so romantic and the melody is so powerful. Pei Jingshu always likes Gu Huiyan, who stands on the stage and sings in the most relaxed state. There is a kind of tenderness called he is making fun of her and she is laughing, and there is no camera, otherwise this statement would have gone viral. Every tear. It's 10,000 rays of light. The darkest places become brighter. My rushing warmth seeks your ocean. I am destined. So. After singing, Gu Huiyan wanted to drink again, but Pei Jingshu deliberately stopped her. However, the atmosphere was really good, so she had to give him some face. So Gu Huiyan was fed a lot of drugs again. When we got back, everyone was unconscious and just drunk. She could only say hello to the people around her, and then ask her assistant to help get Gu Huiyan back first. Gu Huiyan is not heavy, but it still requires at least 2 people to carry it. Pei Jingshu is slender and does not have a lot of strength. It is very difficult to carry his arms on her shoulders. Why is this happening again? When carrying him back to the hotel room, Pei Jingshu felt that all her strength had been drained, and her assistant was also very tired. You go back first, I will take care of him. After calling the assistant back, Pei Jingshu took off Gu Huiyan's shoes and covered him with a quilt. Because the position where Gu Huiyan was lying was really not good, she could only try her best to get him to turn over. It's a pity that she is too weak alone and can't pull her. Can you move? She was sweating, and she patted Gu Huiyan angrily. The old man looked drunk, but when Pei Jingshu said that, he actually moved. It's just the extent of the movement. A bit big. Ah! Pei Jingshu accidentally fell under him. Well. Before Pei Jingshu could react, Gu Huiyan, who was full of alcohol, kissed her mouth and blocked her tightly, arrogantly, and rudely. Before she could reach out to push Gu Huiyan away, she felt a cold hand lift up the hem of her upper sweater and touch around her. Don't. Pei Jingshu panicked for a moment, her pretty face turned as red as a red apple. People's hands tend to get cold in winter, and the body surface temperature is higher because they wear more clothes to keep them warm. Gu Huiyan's cold hands were caressing her warm back. When I touch it, it feels obviously cold, and so exciting. Don't get me wrong, it's the stimulation of hot and cold sensations on the skin. Although Pei Jingshu is not the kind of person who will be carried away by lust, but if he behaves like this, she will also. I can't refuse. There were a few moments when Pei Jingshu couldn't help but regret driving her assistant away. If the assistant hadn't left, would Gu Huiyan still be able to take care of the people next to her, and they wouldn't have progressed to this point? No. Pei Jingshu soon denied this speculation. Judging from Gu Huiyan's current lost reason and violent state, if the assistant had not left, she would really be in trouble. It was precisely because he drank too much and didn't have much sense that Gu Huiyan acted so rudely that Pei Jingshu couldn't help but refuse. The smell of alcohol and masculine smell penetrated into Pei Jingshu's nose like it was life-threatening. Soon, Pei Jingshu's hand holding his hand became weaker and weaker. Until the end. Being pressed and kissed by Gu Huiyan, she couldn't help but raise her hand, hook her neck around Gu Huiyan's neck, and respond awkwardly. In fact, after experiencing so many things, she was willing to give herself to Gu Huiyan. If he hadn't been suffering from fever and confusion a few days ago, and had been suffering from a bad cold for the past few days, the day the concert ended, the rice would have been cooked. Gu Huiyan. Although he didn't have much sense because he drank too much, Gu Huiyan still remembered what Pei Jingshu whispered in his ear. Why, I can't always refuse you. The next day was still a beautiful sunny day. The weather lately has been really good. Although the temperature has not gotten much higher in the dead of winter, the sun is shining and it can dispel the chill in many people's bodies. Hey. Gu Huiyan always felt uncomfortable when he woke up. He felt like there was a burning fire in his stomach. The esophagus under his neck felt like lava had rolled over it. It hurt. Not only that, but the nasal cavity and throat cavity that had been relieved by the intravenous injection yesterday were also constantly uncomfortable, as if they had worsened after drinking last night. Lying shirtless on the white sheets, Gu Huiyan put a hand on his forehead. His mind was awake, but his whole body seemed to be shaking. But when he turned his head and saw the short-haired figure with her back to him, he couldn't help but grin. Fragments are something only people over 30 years old have. Maybe they have a good drinking capacity. Gu Huiyan has never drank fragments in his whole life, so if you say that he doesn't remember what happened last night, then that's pure fart. The air conditioner was on in the room, but it felt very humid. Fortunately, the quilt was quite warm. Although it was quite uncomfortable, Gu Huiyan secretly moved over, stretched out his hands, and climbed up Pei Jingshu's fair and delicate waist. Gu Huiyan could feel that when he touched Pei Jingshu, her body trembled slightly. "What are you doing? Are you awake?" "Morning." Gu Huiyan whispered in her ear. Pei Jingshu would definitely not reply to him early. She frowned, gritted her silver teeth, stretched out her jade hand, put it on Gu Huiyan's hand on her lower abdomen, pinched it hard with the nails of her index finger and thumb. "Hit him." Hiss. Gu Huiyan grinned in pain and shouted. "Wrong, wrong, don't pinch me, it hurts." "You know it hurts, but you still don't take it away." Pei Jingshu still had her back to him, not because she didn't want to turn around, but mainly because she was too shy. Even though she didn't look in the mirror, she knew that she was blushing terribly. How shameful it was to look back at Gu Huiyan at this time. "Okay, I just won't touch you." Gu Huiyan had no choice but to extend his hand back obediently, and couldn't help but mutter in his heart, "You think Pei Jingshu is too reserved? Where did this go? Why are you still so shy?" After taking his hand back, Gu Huiyan pretended to continue sleeping and didn't talk to Pei Jingshu, just lying there. Rustling, rustling. When she noticed that there was no movement behind her, Pei Jingshu thought that Gu Huiyan had fallen asleep again, so she dared to look back quietly. As a result, when she turned around, she found Gu Huiyan looking at her with a coquettish smile. Pei Jingshu was so frightened that she immediately turned her head back. Her strong desire to survive drove her to subconsciously roll up the quilt crazily on herself. Hey hey! Even the quilt covering Gu Huiyan's body was swept away. "By the way, Gu Huiyan isn't wearing any clothes now. I still have a bad cold. You took away all the quilts. What should I cover myself with?" Gu Huiyan tugged at the corner of the quilt and sniffed pitifully. The sound made Pei Jingshu happy. But with her current shyness, if you ask her to open her arms to welcome Gu Huiyan, then it is definitely impossible. "Then why don't you hurry up and put on some clothes?" she said. "My clothes are all over there with you." Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently. He didn't know how he did it last night. How did he take off his clothes? His clothes were thrown to Pei Jingshu's side, and Pei Jingshu's clothes were thrown to the stall next to him. It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan just took a look and found that Pei Jingshu's clothes were torn and damaged. He could only pretend not to see it, otherwise he would inevitably be stared at by Pei Jingshu with resentful eyes. Then come and get it." I don't know if she was too shy, but Pei Jingshu didn't think twice when she spoke. She just wanted to say that if the clothes are here, why don't you come and get them? "Are you sure I should go get it?" Gu Huiyan asked. Then, what if? Pei Jingshu noticed something was wrong, but for a moment she didn't think anything was wrong. "Okay." Until Gu Huiyan actually ran to the direction where she was lying on her side to get it without any clothes on. "Ah!" Pei Jingshu exclaimed and shouted. "Why aren't you wearing clothes? My clothes are all here. You ask me why I don't wear clothes." Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently and said, "I'm afraid you're not kidding me. Which one of us has the fever? So what do you think I came here for, other than to pick up clothes?" Oh." Pei Jingshu only grasped the quilt on her chest with one hand, and covered her eyes frantically with the other hand. She blushed to her neck and even to the roots of her ears. Rustling, rustling. She turned over as fast as she could with her eyes closed, trying not to look at Gu Huiyan as much as possible, and said, "Hurry, put it on quickly." Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes and scratched his head. He really wanted to get dressed honestly. After all, it was indeed cold when he came out of bed this morning. But when he lowered his head to look for clothes, from the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the quilt where Pei Jingshu turned her back. There seemed to be some gaps that she had overlooked. Cough. Gu Huiyan coughed lightly, thinking that the cold clothes were not as comfortable as the warm bed, not to mention that the place where Pei Jingshu was always fragrant, so he didn't want to leave. Then What are you doing? Are you wearing anything? Pei Jingshu here was still waiting for Gu Huiyan to get dressed and go out quickly so that she could get dressed. Who knew that after waiting for a long time, Gu Huiyan made no movement at all. Just when she finally couldn't stand it any longer and planned to turn around and take a look, who knew? Behind him, Gu Huiyan suddenly lifted up the quilt and got in. After staying outside for a while, Gu Huiyan's hands were a little cold. When they were pressed against Pei Jingshu's warm and smooth skin, the skin was extremely irritated. What are you doing? Aren't you wearing clothes? Pei Jingshu still wanted to struggle, but unfortunately Gu Huiyan had already gotten in. She couldn't get out no matter how hard she chased this guy away. Not only that, Gu Huiyan also touched randomly, and even took advantage of her turning back to grab the quilt and turn over, suppressing her. Well. Immediately afterwards, the mouth was blocked. Pei Jingshu was about to cry, this guy was so good at bullying her. It was probably more than 2 hours later when Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu actually got up. It was past 10 o'clock, and the sun was already shining on their butts. Fortunately, Suzhou doesn't need to take a high-speed rail flight to go to Shanghai, he can just drive there, so he doesn't have to rush for time, otherwise the two of them would definitely not be able to catch up. Speaking of this matter, Pei Jingshu couldn't help but admire Gu Huiyan's assistant Zhang Nuan. Yesterday she said that she could go back to Shanghai this morning. After all, it was just a celebration banquet. The celebration banquet at noon could also affect the next morning. Ah! But do you dare to think that they drank until 4 or 5 o'clock at noon and slept until more than 10 o'clock the next day? Sure enough, she couldn't understand people who drank. Do you want to see how my clothes have been torn by you? When getting dressed, Pei Jingshu asked Gu Huiyan with her jeans with the buttons ripped off with a look of helplessness. Fortunately, the zipper was not broken and the sweater was relatively long and could be covered up. Otherwise, Pei Jingshu would not have pants to wear when going out to see people. Ahem, what you said is as if my clothes are not damaged. Gu Huiyan shook the collar of his shirt and several of them fell off. Did I break that? Pei Jingshu always thought that she had overestimated Gu Huiyan's shamelessness, but now it seems that she still underestimated. Last night, both her clothes and Gu Huiyan's clothes were all broken by Gu Huiyan himself. The buttons broke because of him. Pei Jingshu cannot bear the responsibility just because his own clothes are also broken. Then why don't you wear mine? Because of Gu Huiyan's shamelessness, he couldn't help but blush when he was told this, and looked for Pei Jingshu's own clothes. Of course Pei Jingshu didn't want to wear them, but just now she discovered that not only the buttons of her jeans were off, but also a piece was torn underneath, making it impossible to wear them. The strength is quite strong. She blushed and rolled her eyes at Gu Huiyan. At this time, she was only wearing a gray sweater, and her legs were exposed in the air. Under the white quilt, they looked very attractive. Gilug. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but swallowed as he looked at it. Seeing him like that, Pei Jingshu was so frightened that she immediately pulled the quilt to cover her legs, then waved her hands as if she was scared and said with a red face. No. No, what time is it? It's time to get up. How about kissing the head office? No. Well. Pei Jingshu regretted very much that she had indulged Gu Huiyan last night. Why did it feel like she had opened a new world for Gu Huiyan, an old man? It's good now, she is like a toy, Gu Huiyan can kiss and touch him whenever he wants. Just look at the scene in the room. Pei Jingshu, the internal entertainment beauty, was kissed by Gu Huiyan and was so breathless. If this leaked out, it would make those people jealous to death. Only fans of Pei Jingshu's family would know it. My mind immediately exploded. Dong dong dong. Pei Jingshu was very grateful that someone outside the door knocked violently on the door when Gu Huiyan's dirty hands went into her clothes again, interrupting Gu Huiyan's movements. Who is it? This early in the morning. Gu Huiyan didn't think it was ridiculous at all to say it was earlier than 10 o'clock, so he reluctantly went to open the door. My attitude was normal when I opened the door, but when I saw Pei Ya's somewhat angry expression, I immediately changed 180 degrees. Morning, sister. That sister is called old sister so much that he cares about every real sister in Huiyan, otherwise you would feel that he is calling her closer than a real sister. Creak. Seeing Gu Huiyan like that, Pei Ya almost gritted her back teeth, but in the end she suppressed all her anger. She felt that she had grown up after the breakup storm between Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu. She just squeezed out a sentence through clenched teeth. Tell Pei Jingshu to come out quickly. I have something to tell her. Okay, no problem. Gu Huiyan was so attentive that he ran in and called Pei Jingshu without even closing the door. When he entered, Pei Jingshu had already changed out of a pair of black pants that he had found for him. Although Gu Huiyan was not fat, he was not as slim as Pei Jingshu, so when his clothes were put on Pei Jingshu, they always felt seems a bit bloated. Fortunately, her temperament is there, and you feel a very strange phenomenon. When you look at her from bottom to top, she looks ugly in such bloated clothes. This person must not be good looking. But when you see her face, you instantly feel that even those bloated clothes look better. Facts have proved that if you have a good-looking face, you don't have to choose clothes at all. If Pei Ya hadn't come, Gu Huiyan would probably have held Pei Jingshu's baby for a while. After telling Pei Jingshu that it was Pei Ya, Pei Jingshu felt a little embarrassed. She didn't know what she was thinking of. She blushed so much that she lowered her head and hesitated for a while before going out. She had promised her sister before that she would never do that kind of thing before getting engaged. Now, I must have broken my promise. It is worth mentioning that Pei Jingshu always walks a little awkwardly. To be honest, she is really glad that her clothes were torn by Gu Huiyan and she wore a pair of Gu Huiyan's loose casual pants so that she can spread her legs when she feels uncomfortable. Without being seen. Let me help you. Although Gu Huiyan was very old, he was quite considerate. He helped Pei Jingshu out all the way, and he also didn't forget to help Pei Jingshu pick up the clothes that he had torn. Outside the door, Pei Ya is waiting. When she saw Pei Jingshu limping out wearing Gu Huiyan's pants, she was so angry that she almost cut her with a knife to Gu Huiyan. Let me do it. In the end, I still felt sorry for my sister, so I pushed Gu Huiyan away angrily and went to help her. Gu Huiyan definitely didn't mind. They had something to talk about. Zhang Nuan happened to come over and was about to pack up and go out for a meal and go to the airport. By the way, is Mother Zhang gone? While packing things with his assistant, Gu Huiyan suddenly asked. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 353. Yesterday afternoon, Gu Huiyan drank too much and was carried back by Pei Jingshu. He didn't say hello to Zhang Ma. In his impression, Zhang Ma seemed to have been dragging Pei Ya there to talk about something. The flight last night has gone back, Zhang Nuan replied. Gu Huiyan nodded, surprised by Zhang Ma's arrival, but not completely unaware of her purpose. It must be about opening a company. Gu Huiyan is not so brainless. And he has been getting together with Pei Ya, and he probably wants to get Pei Jingshu to join the gang. Thinking of this, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but wonder, does Pei Ya calling Pei Jingshu over just now have anything to do with this? It feels like it should have something to do with it. Facts have proved that Gu Huiyan's guess was indeed correct, because just when they packed their things and went down, they met Pei Jingshu and others in the car, got in the car and drove away. On the way, Pei Jingshu told Gu Huiyan with a mysterious face. I have some good news for you. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and said naively. Although I really want to pretend to be looking forward to it, can I say that I have guessed it? As soon as these words came out, Pei Jingshu, who was still a little excited and with a bit of expectation on her beautiful face, was stunned for a moment, then she couldn't help but frowned and turned her head as if she didn't want to see Gu Huiyan. Explain. You're a real bummer. Ah, okay, I'm just kidding, I don't know anything, I just guessed. Gu Huiyan quickly begged for mercy. Pei Jingshu was not easy to coax. She was never the kind of girl who could just say a few nice words or give you 2 candies and continue laughing with you. She was just angry when she was angry. After coaxing her for a long time, she finally let Gu Huiyan go and told Gu Huiyan that Pei Ya agreed to join the company he and Zhang Ma led. Didn't you agree before? Why did you agree all of a sudden? Gu Huiyan asked strangely. It was obvious that Pei Ya had not hesitated when she refused before. Love and career must be separated, otherwise it will not be fair to anyone. Why did you suddenly agree? Because Zhang Ma arrived and briefly chatted with her, she agreed. What a joke. That's not how the tongue is used. No matter how easy it is to use one's tongue, it would be strange if someone doesn't give in to the right benefits. Don't you know everything? In this regard, Pei Jingshu found it funny. Gu Huiyan pretended to know everything just now, why did he become silent now and didn't know? I shouldn't be able to guess this, right? Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently. Indeed, he could guess what Zhang Ma and Pei Ya talked about, but he really couldn't guess what conditions Zhang Ma made to Pei Ya. It's quite curious. With Pei Jingshu's current fame, popularity, traffic, and resources at her disposal, few people can offer conditions that would make her agree to join the company without hesitation. She is already standing very high. No matter how good a pusher is, it is really difficult to push her higher. It is said that every year there are big companies that want to sign Pei Jingshu, including those at international level. Unfortunately, none of the offers are so attractive that they can't refuse. You said it's because of Gu Huiyan? Don't be kidding, if this was really the case, Pei Ya had agreed before, and why did Zhang Ma make the trip herself? In response, Pei Jingshu pursed her lips and chuckled, not forgetting to laugh at Gu Huiyan and said. Is there anything else you can't guess? Can you please stop selling it? Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes. Good. Pei Jingshu, who was kind to people's clothes, stopped trying to sell things and told him that Jiang's mother had talked with Pei Ya yesterday. In addition to some fashion endorsements and advertising resources that some big companies could promise, she also added a very tempting one. Condition. That is, Gu Huiyan will tailor a personal album for Pei Jingshu at least every year, and it is guaranteed that there will be at least 3 popular works. Originally, Pei Ya had no intention of agreeing to join the gang at all, and there was no need to talk about it. She knew very well that the reason why Zhang Ma dragged them over was simply because they were a golden sign and could help recruit many people. At the same time, Pei Jingshu's own ability to attract money is unmatched by Gu Huiyan to a certain extent. Her annual expenses for big-name endorsements are completely sky-high, and she can create sky-high profits for the company. The benefit of having a company to them is not big in itself. But equally, because Pei Jingshu stands high enough, it is difficult to go further, so what they need is works. People will grow old one day. Even good looks like Pei Jingshu cannot withstand the passage of time. Stars eat youth and want to be famous for a lifetime, relying on their works. Needless to say, Gu Huiyan's abilities. Every song he gave to Pei Jingshu, whether it was Little Lucky or Meeting, brought her great benefits. If he could promise an album every year, then the conditions were so tempting that Pei Ya had no reason to refuse. As for 3 songs in an album that can be popular, this number is actually quite good. Nowadays, many singers have to beg their grandfather and grandma to get a popular song from their album. Guaranteed 3 songs is already a kind of strength. Reflects. Considering the long-term benefits brought by the work, you said that if Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu break up again in the future, it is indeed not impossible. There are risks in this regard, but even if there is a problem in the future, at least they have obtained the work. It will be beneficial to Pei Jingshu in the future. So, Pei Ya has no reason to refuse. Only. Ah. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan felt a string of black question marks on his head. He was confused because Zhang Ma didn't tell him about this at all in advance. Do not you know? Pei Jingshu was still scratching her head in wonder, thinking that Zhang Dan had negotiated this matter with Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan can't say he doesn't know, it's like he doesn't want to write a song for Pei Jingshu. I know, I must know, this is nothing, it's a trivial matter. Gu Huiyan held his forehead silently and spoke forcefully. Pei Jingshu smiled when she heard this and said, "It doesn't matter whether I write or not. It's just a condition for my sister to agree. Don't take it too seriously." She didn't care much about this. She always didn't want Gu Huiyan to think that she was with him for her own benefit. Gu Huiyan felt a little embarrassed that she was so considerate. He reached out and hooked Pei Jingshu's bony shoulders, and Pei Jingshu leaned on his chest, closing the distance between them. Gently smelling the fragrance on Pei Jingshu's body, Gu Huiyan said, "Then I'll ask you to take good care of me from now on, boss lady." This is the first time Pei Jingshu has heard the title proprietress, but it is quite useful. She smiled secretly, full of longing for the future. Suzhou is so close to Shanghai, so close that you don't need to fly, and the high-speed rail ticket only costs 30 or 40 yuan. Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu chose to go back by car. After all, the drive only lasted 2 or 3 hours. Ah, sneeze. I don't know if it was because he was sweating after drinking yesterday, but Gu Huiyan seemed to have a serious cold. He sneezed and coughed all the way, and he even used a pack of tissues to blow his nose. Hurry up and wear a mask. When they were resting in the expressway service area, Pei Ya hurriedly handed Pei Jingshu a mask. Pei Jingshu had been in close contact with Gu Huiyan until now. The two slept together last night. They kissed and hugged each other when they had nothing to do. I should really be thankful to be infected. Maybe it was from a different perspective. Pei Jingshu was not thinking about these, but felt sorry for Gu Huiyan. It's a pity that she couldn't walk very easily today, and she limped awkwardly, but she still went to the service area to help Gu Huiyan get hot water, make cold medicine, and bought a cup of hot porridge, just to feed Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan was quite touched by this kind of tenderness and thoughtfulness. It was not that he had never enjoyed this kind of treatment before. Gu's mother also took care of him in this way when he was a child. The main reason is that the staff around him, including Pei Ya, almost everyone has an expression of "you deserve this," and no one feels sorry for him. Pei Jingshu's distress is particularly prominent in it. Gu Huiyan had no choice but to blame him for drinking and singing and dancing before he recovered from a severe cold. It turned out that the cold was caused by the concert, but he just didn't have a long memory. "You go and live at my place." When they arrived at the Shanghai Stock Exchange, Pei Jingshu couldn't bear to look after Gu Huiyan, so she made such a suggestion. No. Pei Ya refused without thinking. She didn't choose her to sleep with Gu Huiyan last night. She still wanted to live with Gu Huiyan directly. "You two are progressing too fast." Elder sister. Pei Jingshu didn't listen to her sister this time and insisted on asking Gu Huiyan to come over. Since he has a few days of work in Shanghai, Gu Huiyan's plan is to book a hotel nearby as usual. But Pei Jingshu was afraid that the hotel environment would not be good, and that his staff would not be able to take good care of him. Her home was far better than the most luxurious five-star hotel in every aspect. Is this appropriate? Gu Huiyan scratched his head. Pei Jingshu's apartment in Shanghai was very luxurious. He had been there before, but it had been more than half a year. "I don't care whether it's appropriate or not. In front of the staff, you said that you want to take Gu Huiyan home to live. If you say that Pei Jingshu is not shy or blushing, that is definitely impossible. When someone looked at her, she wished she could find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. But who allowed them to be glued to each other in this period? I really can't control you anymore. Pei Ya silently held her forehead, with a look of helplessness on her face. She thought that after a breakup, her sister would have a better memory, but she didn't expect that she would sink deeper. Just for a moment, Pei Ya felt a little regretful for helping them get back together. She felt that after getting back together, they were always angry with themselves. It was already afternoon when they arrived in Shanghai. Gu Huiyan's work was scheduled for tomorrow and he could take a break today, so they went directly to Pei Jingshu's apartment. The community where the apartment is located is very private, and there are no candid photos or proxy photos at all, let alone paparazzi. Entering the elevator from the underground garage, Gu Huiyan was already familiar with it because he had been here once, but this time he was brought here by Pei Jingshu, so the feeling was different. It is worth mentioning that neither Gu Huiyan nor Pei Jingshu can be considered healthy. One has difficulty walking and is awkward and needs help, while the other seems to be dizzy with a fever and walks in vain. What's even more funny is that these two people actually want to take care of each other and support each other. You two are almost done, now that you know how much you love each other. Pei Ya couldn't stand it anymore, so she called Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan's assistants to help. If they showed affection at this time, would they survive? Pook. Maybe they realized that both of them were battle damaged. After Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan were supported by the assistant, they both became happy. I think it's quite funny. Another point worth mentioning is that when entering the elevator to enter the password, Gu Huiyan noticed that the password Pei Jingshu had told him before did not seem to have been changed. Of course, Gu Huiyan didn't say this explicitly, he just glanced at Pei Jingshu a little moved. In the past 6 months, there have been ups and downs, but she didn't even change the password to her apartment. Not only that, she didn't even block Gu Huiyan on the phone, Vmail, or anywhere else. What a kind girl. When he got upstairs, Gu Huiyan was quite restrained. Last time he came by himself and there was no one in the room. It felt almost like staying in a hotel. Gu Huiyan was used to staying in hotels every day for work. But this time, coming with Pei Jingshu and Pei Ya feels like visiting someone else's house. So if you say that Gu Huiyan is very relaxed, that's definitely not true. This makes Pei Ya feel more comfortable. Although she and Pei Jingshu are boyfriend and girlfriend, if Gu Huiyan really comes here pretending to be like a male host, then she will really think that this guy is steaming shrimp heads. She could be considered considerate. She asked her assistant to put away Pei Jingshu's things, arranged the luggage brought by Gu Huiyan and his assistant, and then left with everyone. It left a private space for Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, and also allowed them to live in a world of two. Of course, she would still tell Pei Jingshu to call someone if she couldn't hold on anymore. It would be good if you two battle-damaged versions could take care of yourselves. Don't think about showing off and taking care of others all day long. I know, let's go, sister. When seeing Pei Ya off at the door, Pei Jingshu was wearing a light blue shirt and milky white trousers. She looked very gentle, but her delicate and beautiful face was extremely red. She always felt that what her sister Pei Ya said should not be the same as teasing her about being with Gu Huiyan last night. Well. Looking at her love-minded sister, Pei Ya sighed and said again. The live broadcast equipment is ready for you, you can take care of it yourself. After saying that, she turned and left. Once they leave, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu will truly be in a world of two. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which was still early, but the sun sets early in winter. Because their residential area happened to be on a higher floor, they could see the sun setting to the west and the top of the building intersecting. Shadows and sunlight will be refracted along the floor-to-ceiling windows of the boss, which makes people quite enjoy it. I'd better wear a mask. Gu Huiyan had no intention of admiring the beautiful scenery. He had just had a fever on the way. He didn't feel very well at the moment. He drank a lot yesterday and the smell of alcohol in his stomach couldn't go away. Afraid of bad breath, and afraid of infecting Pei Jingshu with a cold. Pei Jingshu came over with 2 cups of coffee, one of which was handed to Gu Huiyan. She glared at Gu Huiyan and said, "What's the use of wearing it now? Why did you go there earlier? Yesterday, when this guy drank too much and smelled of alcohol, he didn't care about these things when he kissed her, and he wasn't afraid of infecting her. What kind of big-tailed wolf are you pretending to be now? Isn't this a big mistake? Wearing it is always useful." Perhaps he was confused because of the fever, but Gu Huiyan wore a mask and drank coffee. Pei Jingshu wanted to stop him, but unfortunately he had already bumped into him. It didn't matter if he bumped into her, the coffee would be spilled. It didn't spread anywhere else. Gu Huiyan's pants were basically completely wet. Hot. Hiss. The freshly brewed coffee was quite hot, and Gu Huiyan was so sloppy that he had to wipe it clean with great difficulty. Pei Jingshu silently held her forehead, her pretty face flushed, and told Gu Huiyan helplessly, "Go get a mop and clean it, I can't walk." She really didn't want to walk today, not even a step. Not only was it inconvenient, but she also felt quite tired. "No problem. Gu Huiyan will definitely not ask you such nonsense as why you can't walk. He has an idea in mind." He obediently found a mop to clean, and passed by Pei Jingshu's cloakroom along the way. Because he was quite impressed with this cloakroom last time he came here, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but take a few more glances inside. "It doesn't matter, I saw some things I didn't see last time. They seem to be some equipment used for live broadcasts. What did you use that for?" Gu Huiyan couldn't help but ask curiously. When Pei Ya left just now, he seemed to have heard them talking about live broadcasts and the like. Live broadcast. Pei Jingshu was wrapped in a grey blanket, leaning on the cushions of the lazy sofa, taking a sip of coffee and saying, "Didn't your boss tell you?" "Ah." Gu Huiyan scratched his head. He even took out his cell phone on the spot to see if there were any message records or call records from last night. Why did he feel that Mother Zhang had so many things that she didn't tell him? What's going on? After searching for a long time, Gu Huiyan scratched his head and asked Pei Jingshu. Pei Jingshu explained to him that Pei Ya was chatting with Jiang's mother yesterday, talking about work matters, and they are joining. There are many attractive conditions offered to Pei Jingshu, so there is no need to talk about this. When Pei Ya agreed, Mother Zhang also offered Pei Ya a condition. He said that he wanted Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan to hold a live broadcast together to officially announce their reunion, and also to create a wave of popularity. At that time, everyone in Pei Ya was confused, thinking, why the hell does this have a reverse condition? You asked us to join us and gave us conditions. Jiang's mother explained the pros and cons to her at that time, saying that one code must be one code, and we must come to you about joining the gang, but it is what you should do to announce the reunion on a live broadcast. When Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu broke up, a social update from Pei Jingshu triggered a breakup storm for nearly half a year. It goes without saying how Gu Huiyan spent the past 6 months. It was no different from his house being collapsed. Everyone yelled at the rat crossing the street. Not only that the work has come to a complete standstill, but also that there is no clue as to how to proceed in the future. Pei Jingshu's one move can basically ruin more than 80% of Gu Huiyan's career. Yes, we are back together now. But those losses cannot be undone by just saying a few words. Have you given any compensation to the partners for terminating the contract? Not to mention that Gu Huiyan is getting better now. That's not because Gu Huiyan sings songs one after another. It has something to do with you, but he can turn over without you. Can't you make up for the harm you caused to Gu Huiyan? In terms of patronizing Huai's safety, You support Pei Jingshu? I want to eat shit. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 354. As Gu Huiyan's current boss and future partner, Jiang's mother must be looking for the welfare of her family. It has caused Gu Huiyan such harm in the past 6 months. It is strange that she can let Pei Ya and the others off easily. Boss Jiang, he has never been a boss who likes to suffer losses. Pei Ya has learned this before, but she didn't expect that he would be allowed to do it again this time. Anyway, we have decided to cooperate. There is no need to be unhappy because of a small conflict. Pei Ya still has a sense of the overall situation. In addition, the live broadcast of Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu announcing their reunion will also be of great benefit to both of them. There was no refusal. Live streaming, that's what it's all about. That's it? After hearing this, Gu Huiyan understood Zhang Ma's thoughts. In the past 2 days, news about Pei Ban taking care of CP was flying all over the place. If they officially announced their reunion through live broadcast, the popularity would be imagined. It's not hard to imagine how excited the fans, spectators, and passers-by on both sides were. And although the reaction of the two people at the concert said everything, it seems that the two of them reunited have not been officially announced. An official announcement is indeed needed. It's just that this official announcement shouldn't be based on Pei Jingshu's compensation for Gu Huiyan, right? I don't need you to compensate me for anything, it doesn't matter. Gu Huiyan, who was wearing a mask, lowered his head and mopped the ground. He had done something wrong. It was normal for Pei Jingshu to retaliate. There was no need to make compensation. It's always awkward to talk about topics like this, but if you don't speak out, sooner or later it will accumulate in your heart and cause harm. If there is a quarrel in the future, this will be the biggest weapon used to slander the other party. At this time, Gu Huiyan's back was turned to Pei Jingshu. Looking at his back, Pei Jingshu's eyes flashed a little apologetically. Then she stood up silently, stretched out her hands and wrapped them around Gu Huiyan's waist, hugging her from behind. Gu Huiyan. I'm sorry, I didn't think so much at the time. She didn't speak loudly, but because there were only the two of them in the room, the sound insulation in the house must be very good, so even if her voice was like a needle falling on the ground, Gu Huiyan could hear it quite clearly. Although the post that triggered the breakup storm in the past 6 months was suggested by Pei Ya, it was indeed edited by Pei Jingshu. She didn't really have much sense at that time. If any girl goes through that kind of thing and you say you don't think about revenge, it's definitely false. But the bigger reason why Pei Jingshu posted that post at that time was actually because she didn't want many people to do it again. I bundled myself with Gu Huiyan for marketing. In the past, because they were very sweet, there were always marketing accounts about them on the internet, and similar videos appeared every day. A breakup is a breakup, and the breakup is a clean break. Both of them have broken up. Looking at those sweet videos, I feel even more uncomfortable. At that time, Pei Jingshu's thinking was very simple. She was just telling everyone that they broke up and it would never matter in the future, and asked everyone to be sensible. Who would have thought that evildoers would spread so many truths and falsehoods, knocking Gu Huiyan from the king at the top of the pyramid to almost 18 levels underground? The entertainment industry is actually like this. The weak prey on the strong. Don't look at the normal scenery of some so-called first-line, big-name, and top-notch artists. There are too many people behind their backs who are watching the resources they control. They should not let them get the handle, otherwise they will be eaten by a pack of wolves in no time. Gu Huiyan must have the body protection golden light system, otherwise Gu Huiyan would be doomed. To be honest, Gu Huiyan was not very comfortable being held like this. People's eyes are in the front and all the sense of touch is in the front. If you are held from behind, you can't feel anything. It's a bit wasteful.
Moreover, Gu Huiyan was not very used to Pei Jingshu suddenly engaging in sensationalism. If you want to compensate, actually this. Gu Huiyan scratched his head, put the mop aside, grabbed Pei Jingshu's hand and turned around, staring into Pei Jingshu's eyes stupidly and said with a smile. Actually, you have already made up for it. Huh? How come? Pei Jingshu also wanted to say that I didn't do anything. She thought Gu Huiyan was referring to what happened at the concert, but she clearly didn't contribute anything at the concert and was always a passive one. The people behind the scenes were Pei Ya and Zhang Dan, and the others have nothing to do with her. But when she saw Gu Huiyan's unserious look in his eyes and took a few steps back, she noticed some physical discomfort. She immediately realized that this was what Gu Huiyan was talking about. You're a gangster, you just want to think about some unseemly things. She blushed and turned away. It was evening now, and the setting sun was getting darker and darker, hitting Pei Jingshu's blue sweater and her short hair. His shy look always makes people feel itchy. I have a cold. Gu Huiyan scratched his head. The mask always reminded him not to kiss Pei Jingshu, otherwise he would have hugged Pei Jingshu and kissed her first. Give it to me. I'll give you the link to the restaurant downstairs where you often eat. You can see what you want to eat tonight. Perhaps because she was too embarrassed, Pei Jingshu grabbed the mop and limped away. Gu Huiyan grinned. It was getting late, so he used his mobile phone to order food. Ding dong. After a while, Pei Jingshu sent a link, which was the delivery menu of the restaurant she mentioned. It seems to be a restaurant that specializes in local cuisine. Suzhou is not far from Shanghai, and there is not much difference in taste between the two. After staying in Suzhou for more than a month, Gu Huiyan has basically eaten all the local dishes, so it doesn't really matter. Extremely rare. Is there still nothing at home? To be honest, Gu Huiyan is in his current state. If you give him a big meal of fish and meat, he may not be able to eat it. He really misses the pot of hot pot noodles at home. In the past, when he was at home and had a cold, his mother would always give him a bowl of noodles with 2 fried poached eggs that were golden on both sides. That night, I was both hungry and full. Maybe it's because I've always been used to it. When I have a cold or fever, I still miss that bite. No. Pei Jingshu's voice came from the room. She was watching the live broadcast equipment. She was ashamed to say that the refrigerator at home had some drinks at most and very few fruits because she was not at home often and she couldn't keep it cool at home. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and looked at the menu. There was really nothing he wanted to eat, so he thought about going over to ask for Pei Jingshu's opinion and see what she wanted to eat first. He didn't care anymore and just took a bite. Although this was not the first time he came to Pei Jingshu's luxurious cloakroom, Gu Huiyan looked around a few times after entering and couldn't help but be amazed. Tisk tisk. Secretly speechless, Gu Huiyan took his cell phone and walked over. Instead of rushing to Pei Jingshu's side, he turned a corner and walked towards the secret door. Why are you going? Pei Jingshu, who noticed that the footsteps were wrong, turned her head and saw Gu Huiyan going that way. She blushed. She had been having trouble walking all day today. She didn't know where she got the strength now. Regardless of whether it hurt or not, he ran all the way to Gu Huiyan's place. Even so, it was still a little late. Gu Huiyan had already opened the door and entered. Wow! Sure enough, what amazes Gu Huiyan the most is always here. Don't look. Gu Huiyan didn't even look at him for a few seconds before Pei Jingshu grabbed his eyes from behind and pulled him out by his head. Gu Huiyan almost lost his balance and fell to the ground. Pei Jingshu was really embarrassed. The last time she was discovered by Gu Huiyan, she wished she could find a crack in the ground and crawl in. Good guy, this time this guy pushed the door open in front of her. Do you really think you don't exist? Even though she, Pei Jingshu, is not the kind of girl who likes to make noise, She would be very shy and want to quarrel with Gu Huiyan when someone sees such an intimate thing. Okay. No, what's there to be ashamed of? Gu Huiyan was very happy, that is to say, isn't it just underwear? Gu Huiyan has never seen Pei Jingshu's whole body, and looking at the underwear room is really. You still say it? Pei Jingshu glared at him, and Gu Huiyan had no choice but to shut his mouth angrily. Pei Jingshu's shyness is actually good to a certain extent. After many lovers have been in love for a long time, they have no reservations about each other, so they become more and more open-minded, and gradually lose the initial feeling. There is no freshness. As for her easily shy character, she was wrapped in a quilt to prevent Gu Huiyan from touching her after playing house. To a certain extent, it was like plastic wrap, which kept people fresh. The iceberg goddess makes people want to conquer her just because she is untouchable. If you touch it casually, if you touch it too much and you get used to it, you may not want to touch it anymore. Fortunately, Pei Jingshu didn't drive Gu Huiyan out of the cloakroom, otherwise Gu Huiyan really wouldn't know what to do. When he returned to the dressing mirror equipped with fill lights and various live broadcast equipment, Gu Huiyan handed his mobile phone to Pei Jingshu and asked her to order dinner, while his eyes swept over her table. There are really a lot of cosmetics on this table. Of course, what impressed Gu Huiyan the most was the jewelry box from last time. He couldn't get enough of it no matter how many times he looked at it. Seeing Pei Jingshu focusing on ordering food, he had nothing to do, so he worked hard on the jewelry box again. The inside of the box was indeed brilliant. There were all kinds of gold, silver, and jewelry, as well as many emeralds and precious stones. Gu Huiyan couldn't help but say to Pei Jingshu, "This jewelry box of yours is suitable for being placed in a safe, not in such an obvious place. Just one or two of these things are enough for anyone to get them. It would be really bad if the makeup artist, stylist, or newly hired assistant who comes to do Pei Jingshu's makeup has unclean hands and feet." Pei Jingshu smiled and didn't know what she thought of. She ran over and took out a very delicate jade earring from the box and told Gu Huiyan, "Would you like to try this? It's beautiful. I am a grown man, do I wear earrings?" The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched. He didn't even have his ears pierced. "I have tools for ear piercing here." Pei Jingshu actually took out an ear piercing tool from the cabinet. Gu Huiyan's eyes widened when she saw it, and she quickly waved her hand to express, "Forget it, thank you for your kindness, I appreciate it." As he spoke, he took the jade earring from Pei Jingshu's hand and helped her put it back in place. "I originally wanted to look at something else, so I took it and touched it." Cough. Pei Jingshu coughed lightly. When Gu Huiyan looked over, he saw her shaking the ear-piercing tool in her hand and smiling at him. "Does your smile look good?" "Certainly." Pei Jingshu's face makes it hard to look good no matter how she smiles. That means she doesn't act, otherwise she would definitely not be able to play the villain. But that smile made Gu Huiyan a little scared. Yes, Gu Huiyan understood and obediently put the jewelry box back in its place. As expected, girls' things should not be touched randomly. Seeing that he was finally honest, Pei Jingshu shook her head helplessly and smiled. It wasn't that she minded Gu Huiyan touching things randomly, but it was just that many things were easily misplaced and couldn't be found when she used them later. The jewelry box was the next best thing. Although it was expensive, since it wasn't put in the safe as Gu Huiyan said, why would you mind if he touched it? Mainly those cosmetics, including a limited edition perfume, which is quite expensive, and the stylist is not willing to spray it more than once. You said that Gu Huiyan usually didn't touch these things, but it was quite new now. He just sprayed it on his wrist a few times to smell the fragrance, and Pei Jingshu looked strangely distressed. Seeing that he was finally honest, Pei Jingshu felt relieved and went to look at the menu. It's a pity that Gu Huiyan has never been a good student. As soon as the teacher stops staring, he will turn around and do little things. Seeing that Pei Jingshu was concentrating on reading the menu, Gu Huai had nothing to do, but couldn't hold himself back anymore. I can't touch it from above, so I can't look at it from below. So Gu Huaiyan, out of the corner of Pei Jingshu's eyes, opened the drawer to look at other things. People say that people's most precious things will be placed in cabinets, and everyone will have a cabinet for personal collections. The inside of this cloakroom is already very luxurious, and Gu Huaiyan is very curious about what is in the cabinet. Are there really any toys? Hey. Gu Huaiyan thought he had guessed correctly, because as soon as he opened the first cabinet at hand, he saw a small black bag. Everything in the cabinet is neatly arranged, usually in packaging boxes or storage boxes, and rarely in rough bags. It seems a little out of place. Gu Huaiyan is interested in these incompatible things. So he lowered his head to get it. Who knew that at this moment, Pei Jingshu would notice his movements. When she saw him pick up the small black bag, Pei Jingshu's pupils shrank slightly, and then she immediately stood up and shouted, "Don't touch it! Put it down!" Her reaction was a bit too extreme, and Gu Huaiyan felt happy. It's not really a little toy, is it? What are you talking about? Pei Jingshu's beautiful face turned red again, and it looked as obvious as possible under the pure white fill light in front of the dressing mirror. It turns out that she knows everything. The more excited she gets, the more excited Gu Huaiyan becomes. He will definitely not let it go. Not only that, but he will also open it to take a look. Don't. Pei Jingshu's expression was a bit complicated, but she was definitely not shy. She said she was trying to stop her, but her movements were not too large. At this time, Gu Huaiyan opened the small black bag. The moment he opened it, Gu Huaiyan, who was still laughing at first, was stunned. Then, he stared blankly at the familiar couple's bracelet in the bag, and froze on the spot. That is, when he and Pei Jingshu were recording a program in Hainan, before leaving, Pei Jingshu gave him an expensive couple's bracelet, a women's style. While Gu Huaiyan was stunned, Pei Jingshu reached out and took it. Gu Huaiyan didn't hold it tightly, so she got it easily. I really don't know what to think about all day long. Her pretty face was red, and she gave Gu Huaiyan a somewhat reproachful look. Then, in front of Gu Huaiyan, she casually put the bracelet on her fair and skinny wrist. The action seemed to be an understatement, but it was like a manifestation of attitude. Her pretty face was red, and she turned away from Gu Huaiyan, pretending to be angry, picked up her phone and continued to read the menu, as if nothing had happened. I thought you threw it away. After recovering from his daze, Gu Huaiyan said silently. Pei Jingshu's pretty face was hot. She didn't look at Huaiyan, she just said casually. My sister wanted to throw it away before, but I took it back and kept it here. If you hadn't taken it out, I would have forgotten it. This is the truth, but not entirely true. This trip to Suzhou was for a concert. Before I went, I didn't know about Gu Huaiyan's arrangements at the concert, and I didn't think about getting back together, so I definitely wouldn't bring it with me when I went. This bracelet. She originally wanted to put it on when she went out later and show it to Gu Huaiyan when she was flipping her hair. Who knew that Gu Huaiyan found out in advance? Why do you keep staring at me? When she noticed that Gu Huaiyan had been staring at her, Pei Jingshu, who was already blushing, became even more shy now. You held the phone upside down, Gu Huaiyan said. Oh. This sentence made Pei Jingshu so embarrassed that she wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. Seeing Pei Jingshu like this, Gu Huaiyan couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Before Pei Jingshu was so embarrassed that she wanted to leave, he unzipped his jacket. What are you doing? I don't know if last night left a psychological shadow. Pei Jingshu was scared when he saw him taking off his clothes. She subconsciously crossed her hands on her shoulders to protect her chest, looking like she was overly frightened. "What can I do?" Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes, and then, under Pei Jingshu's frightened gaze, he reached into the inner pocket of his coat and took out the bracelet that Pei Jingshu had given him before. The moment she saw the bracelet, Pei Jingshu realized that she had misunderstood. She cursed herself dirty in her heart, her face turned red and hot, but she was a little touched. She raised her jade hand and covered her mouth in disbelief. How could she have thought that Gu Huiyan would wear this bracelet close to her body? This damn tacit understanding. They two really deserve to be together.